Chapter 3184. I did it! Lin Feng was overjoyed. The holy artifact had been successfully devoured by his heaven-swallowing jar, which was a very satisfying thing. However, he didn't know what the holy relic was. However, now wasn't the time to see what it was. Seeing Lin Feng's devouring heaven jar, devouring the holy relic, the others were also overjoyed. However, after Lin Feng's devouring heaven jar devoured the holy relic, they were completely exposed. A group of strong cultivators was moving towards Lin Feng. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lin Feng and the others quickly came out of their hiding place and dodged the attacks of many strong cultivators. The great emperor of the 9 prefectures, the black-robed dragon knight, looked indifferent. When he saw Lin Feng devouring the devouring heaven jar, the black-robed dragon knight's eyes flashed coldly. "It's you, then?" The black-robed dragon knight looked at Lin Feng in shock. Lin Feng was stunned. The black-robed dragon knight knew him? He didn't seem to have seen him before. What Lin Feng didn't know was that he was now a plaything in the eyes of the Tai Dao Honorable Lord. The Tai Dao Honorable Lord wanted to play Lin Feng to death slowly. The black-robed dragon knight in front of him was one of the Tai Dao Honorable Lord's subordinates. Therefore, the black-robed dragon knight could recognize Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng didn't know about this. The black-robed dragon knight naturally wouldn't tell Lin Feng about this. "You are Lin Feng." Yuan Qing narrowed his eyes and looked at Lin Feng. His eyes flashed with an indescribable light. Yuan Qing's undying clan was also in the 9 prefectures. He must have heard of Lin Feng. In addition, Lin Feng had the undying divine body. Naturally, Yuan Qing had studied Lin Feng in detail. Therefore, he was able to recognize Lin Feng now. This was a very normal thing. "So you're that Lin Feng?" The great emperors of the heavenly Dao sect looked at Lin Feng with indifferent expressions. There were many powerhouses present, but Lin Feng became the focus of everyone's attention. Lin Feng had a special ability that could unite many people around him. At the same time, it would attract the attention of countless cultivators from the opposing forces. Lin Feng ignored everyone and looked at Zi Yuan. Zi Yuanyuan also looked at Lin Feng. It was a pair of cold eyes. When he saw Lin Feng, he didn't change much. "Zi Yuan, you still remember me?" Lin Feng asked Zi Yuan. Zi Yuan replied indifferently, "Of course I remember. Long time no see." Hearing Zi Yuan's voice that was as indifferent as water, Lin Feng sighed in his heart. He had been worried about Zi Yuan all these years, but it was clear that Zi Yuan didn't care about him. Zi Yuan had become so powerful. Perhaps there was no reason for her to recall the time when she had been by his side. During that time, they had been on the run together. They had been in danger and fear, and they didn't even know if they could survive. But now, Zi Yuan was high and mighty like a goddess of the heavens. If it were anyone else, perhaps they wouldn't be willing to recall that time filled with suffering. "How have you been these years?" asked Lin Feng. "How have you been these years?" "Everything has been well." Zi Yuan's voice was still very calm. It even felt like she was 1,000 miles away from him. Lin Feng could no longer reconcile the Zi Yuan in front of him with the Zi Yuan in his memories. The Zi Yuan in his memories was very shy and obedient. She liked to stay by his side and softly call him "young master." His eyes were always filled with tenderness and affection. The Zi Yuan in front of him was powerful, cold, and unfamiliar. "That's good." Lin Feng nodded. Now that Zi Yuan was safe and sound, he was relieved. Sometimes life was like this. In one's life, one would meet many people and many things. In one's life, one would miss out on many people and many things. Although it was a pity, But in life, one needed to look forward, not back. Now, he was gradually drifting away from Zi Yuan. There was even a feeling of becoming a stranger. Lin Feng was very sad in his heart, but no matter how sad he was, he had to look forward. Perhaps this was life. He couldn't always live in the past, but in the future. Brat. Not bad. The holy artifact was actually taken by you. The black-robed dragon knight looked at Lin Feng indifferently, and then looked at the Rock King and the others beside Lin Feng. He sneered and said, "I'm afraid you won't be able to take the holy artifact away. Hand it over, or I'll let you have a taste of what it means to live a life worse than death." As his voice fell, the black-robed dragon knight lightly shook the war spear in his hand, his killing intent awe-inspiring. At the same time, Yu Wenqing began to activate the Jade Rui. The 4 emperors of the Heavenly Dao sect also began to circulate their mana, wanting to attack Lin Feng and the others. Roar! The giant golden snake let out a low roar, opened its bloody mouth, and directly spat out terrifying golden lightning towards Lin Feng. Zi Yuan, on the other hand, held the holy snake demon bow in her hand, and arrows shot towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. He never thought that Zi Yuan would attack him. Originally, Lin Feng felt that even though the relationship between him and Zi Yuan would never return to how it was back then, but Zi Yuan wouldn't attack him. But Lin Feng was wrong, and it was a big mistake. Kill. Lin Feng's expression was cold. He took out the heavenly drum, the bell of Hades, and the heavenly mystery pagoda. Lin Feng knew the incantation to activate the heavenly drum and the bell of Hades, so he could use them to attack. And the heavenly mystery pagoda could be used for defense. Lend me a hand. Lin Feng looked at the great Peng King and the others. With his strength alone, even if he controlled many treasures, he naturally couldn't fight against the black-robed dragon knight, Yu Wenqing, Zi Yuan, the giant golden snake, and the 4 emperors of the Heavenly Dao sect. However, Lin Feng wasn't fighting alone. Lin Feng still had 6 emperors on his side. Although the great Peng King and the others' realms weren't particularly high, they were all amazing existences. They could kill enemies who were a lot stronger than them. Moreover, Lin Feng didn't want to fight to the death with these people this time. Now that the treasures were in his hands, snatching the treasures and running, this was the way of survival for cultivators. Boom, boom, boom. The 6 emperors on Lin Feng's side circulated their mana together, and powerful mana continuously flowed into Lin Feng's 3 magic treasures. Although the 6 emperors each had their own powerful magic treasures, it was obvious that the 6 emperors' magic treasures couldn't compare to Lin Feng's magic treasures. Therefore, it was better for everyone to work together to activate Lin Feng's magic treasures, and Lin Feng's 3 magic treasures were released. They collided with the black-robed dragon knight, Yu Wenqing, Zi Yuan, the giant golden snake, and the 4 emperors of the Heavenly Dao sect. Neither side could do anything to the other. Chapter 3185. Chase. The group of experts' expressions were extremely gloomy as they quickly chased after him. In the parallel space, the great Rock King's bloodline had returned to its ancestor and turned into a golden-winged great rock. Lin Feng and the others grabbed onto the great Rock King's feathers tightly. The great Rock King's speed was simply too fast. Lin Feng's speed was already fast enough, but compared to the great Rock King, Lin Feng felt that his speed was still too slow. The Rock clan was good at speed, and they were known to have the fastest speed in all the realms. And the golden-winged Great Rock clan was the fastest Great Rock among the Rock clan. Therefore, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to find a cultivator who could compete with the Great Rock King in terms of speed. Therefore, as long as the Great Rock King wanted to leave, In this world, there weren't many cultivators who wanted to stop the Great Rock King. Just now, it was the Great Rock King who suddenly tore open the void and left with Lin Feng and the others. The group of experts chased into the parallel space and only saw a flash of golden light. Lin Feng and the others had completely disappeared without a trace. They couldn't catch up to Lin Feng and the others at all. Damn it, damn it, the group of experts roared angrily. These people were eyeing the holy artifact covetously, but now that the holy artifact had been snatched away by Lin Feng, these cultivators were simply driven mad with hatred. Among Lin Feng's group, these experts naturally hated Lin Feng the most. This was because it was Lin Feng's heaven-swallowing jar that swallowed the holy artifact. The heaven-swallowing jar was very special and could suppress all kinds of treasures. If it wasn't for the heaven-swallowing jar, suppressing the holy artifact would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. It's better not to meet. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. This time, Zi Yuan launched an attack on Lin Feng. It had indeed hurt Lin Feng's heart. Lin Feng was a strong person, and it was difficult for ordinary people to hurt him. However, the people who could hurt Lin Feng the most were naturally the people that Lin Feng cared about. Actually, Lin Feng wasn't the only one who felt this way. Perhaps everyone was like that. Only the people you cared about the most could hurt you. If it was a stranger, no matter what they said or did, they would not be able to hurt him. Young master, look on the bright side. This is the cruelty of the cultivation world. Duzu said, the Great Peng King, Peacock King, Stone Puppet King, and Fire Crow Taoist remained silent. They had seen too many cases of mutual deception. Some things. He needed to bear it personally before he could gradually grow. Lin Feng said, I'm fine. It was impossible for everything to go smoothly in life. Everything is understandable because it was closer to the demon ancestral land. Everyone returned to the demon ancestral land. Soon after, they arrived at a secret chamber. Lin Feng took out the holy relic, which was shrouded in holy light and emitted waves of astonishing energy. It was a holy relic that had been passed down from the divine court. He didn't know what it was, but it had to be incomparably precious. Once the holy relic was taken out, the holy light gradually disappeared. A piece of silver metal appeared before everyone's eyes. Is this a forging material? Lin Feng was astonished when he saw the metal. This is the legendary immortal silver golden teardrop, or the Stone Puppet King couldn't help but exclaim after seeing the mysterious stone. The Stone Puppet King could be considered to have had a second life, so his knowledge was not something that ordinary people could compare to. Lin Feng said that he knew about many treasures, but this was the first time he had heard of this immortal silver golden teardrop organ. However, from the Stone Puppet King's shocked expression, one could tell how extraordinary this immortal silver golden teardrop was. It was definitely an extremely heaven-defying treasure. This treasure was enough to cause a commotion. What's so special about this immortal silver golden teardrop? Or Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. The Stone Puppet King said, rumor has it that treasures forged from it surpass immortal treasures. What? Everyone's expression changed abruptly. Immortal was the pinnacle of cultivation. Logically speaking, the highest level of magic treasure should be at the level of immortal. However, the Stone Puppet King said that treasures forged from immortal silver golden teardrop could surpass the immortal level. It sounded unbelievable. It was too unbelievable. Everyone couldn't help but feel that it was too surreal. The Stone Puppet King knew how shocking this news was. So he continued, I know that you all think this is unbelievable, but in this world, there are treasures that surpass the immortal level. This, Lin Feng, and the others couldn't help but frown. The Stone Puppet King's words caused them to ponder deeply. Nothing was too strange in this world. Just because they didn't know didn't mean it wasn't true. The Stone Puppet King continued. Of course, in the eyes of countless cultivators, the immortal level is the pinnacle. However, as far as I know, there are some experts above the immortal level, but they are extremely rare. When I completed my second rebirth, I suddenly heard a voice saying that the 9 transformations stone golem could surpass the immortal realm. I don't know where that voice came from, but from then on, a seed was planted in my heart. The 9 transformations stone golems can surpass the celestial layer. That's the goal I've been working hard for my entire life. Later on, I read a passage in a Taoist scripture. That passage recorded some astonishing things. What things? Lin Feng and the others curiously looked at the Stone Puppet King. The Stone Puppet King continued. There are existences that surpass the immortal level, such as the 4 titans of the Grand Mist era. Of course, a small number of people know that the 5 titans of the Grand Mist era were actually the 5 titans. The first progenitor of the sovereign imperial clan was born even before the Grand Mist era, but later generations didn't introduce him. At this point, the Stone Puppet King looked at Lin Feng. The Stone Puppet King knew that Lin Feng had 2 bloodlines. One was the Undying bloodline. The other was the Sovereign Imperial bloodline. Lin Feng was a member of the Sovereign Imperial clan. The first progenitor of the Sovereign Imperial clan was Lin Feng's ancestor. Lin Feng said, "After my generation, I don't know anything about the first progenitor." The others nodded. Countless years had passed, and countless secrets had long been buried in the long river of history. Of course, this included many things that happened to the first progenitor. Later generations didn't know about them. It wasn't just Lin Feng. Many cultivators were the same. They didn't know what their first progenitor had gone through. This immortal silver gold tier stone shouldn't be enough to refine a magic treasure, right? Chapter 3186. The immortal silver golden teardrop stone was extraordinary, but it was still too small. It was simply not enough to refine a treasure. The stone golem monarch nodded. The materials are indeed insufficient. If this immortal silver golden teardrop stone was 3 times bigger, it could be refined into a treasure. Everyone smiled wryly. Such a sacred item. How could it be so easy to obtain? Duzu said, "Maybe there's still immortal silver golden teardrop stone in the divine court. I wonder where it is. I really want to go in and loot it." After hearing Duzu's words, Lin Feng and the others couldn't help but roll their eyes. Even in their dreams, they wanted to enter the divine court and search for the treasures inside. Alas, they couldn't find it. Who knew where the supreme divine court was? If they could find it, it would be truly heaven-defying. "Isn't it a pity for this sacred stone?" Heretical sovereign Saint asked. "No. Although we can't use this saint stone to forge a powerful magic weapon, we can refine the saint stone into saint liquid. Then we can refine the saint liquid into our own magic weapon. It can greatly increase the power of our magic weapon and also increase the potential of our magic weapon. For example, our magic weapon should be limited by the materials used. Perhaps it can be upgraded to the level of an emperor weapon. However, if we refine the saint liquid, our magic weapon might be upgraded to the level of an immortal weapon in the future." The stone golem monarch said. Everyone's eyes lit up. This sacred liquid's effect was truly extraordinary. Everyone couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. The stone golem monarch continued. "This sacred liquid has another terrifying effect." "What is it?" Duzu asked curiously. The stone golem monarch explained. "Take myself as an example. Although I have refined my own personal treasures, I don't really rely on them because the strongest aspect of our race is our physical body. My body itself is a powerful magical treasure. everyone could understand the stone golem monarch's words. Due to the unique nature of the stone golem race, their physical bodies were extremely terrifying. Many stone golems tempered their bodies to be even stronger than their treasures, giving them extremely powerful offensive and defensive capabilities. In fact, it wasn't just the stone tribe that cultivated the body as a treasure. Other tribes also did it. It's just that it's relatively rare. The Stone Puppet King continued, "Because I refine my body into a magical treasure. Therefore, my body can also absorb the sacred liquid, just like a magic treasure absorbing the sacred liquid. After my body absorbs the sacred liquid, my cultivation and potential will be greatly improved." Evil Divinity Saint's eyes lit up. Just like Stone Puppet King, I also refine my body into a powerful treasure. Does that mean my body can also absorb the holy liquid? Stone Puppet King nodded. That's right. Tiandao sect has obtained this treasure for such a long time, yet they haven't used it. How surprising. Lin Feng said. The Stone Puppet King said, "Actually, it's not that strange, because even if the Tiandao sect wanted to use this saint stone, they probably wouldn't be able to." "Why do you say that?" Lin Feng asked doubtfully. The Stone Puppet King said, "Because to refine a saint stone of this level, it requires at least 3 types of heavenly fire to refine it." Oh my God! 3 types of heavenly fire to refine it repeatedly? In this era, finding more than 3 types of heavenly fire is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. But for us, this isn't a problem at all. Duzu said with a grin. Everyone knew that Lin Feng had heavenly fire, and he had 5 types of heavenly fire. All right, then I'll refine this saint stone and distribute it to everyone, Lin Feng said with a smile. Next, Lin Feng went into seclusion for half a month. Every day, he would refine the saint stone with 5 types of heavenly fire. Only then did he refine the saint stone into sacred liquid. It was a kind of golden, holy liquid that was surrounded by holy light. Lin Feng divided the sacred liquid into 7 portions, 1 for each person. Then, everyone went into seclusion. The Stone Puppet King and Evil Divinity Saint directly devoured the sacred liquid. Their bodies were their treasures, and their treasures were their bodies. Lin Feng, Great Peng King, Peacock King, Fire Crow Taoist, and Duzu planned to use the sacred liquid to refine their natal treasures. Lin Feng's natal treasure, the primal chaos ancient lamp, had the potential to become an immortal artifact. However, Lin Feng wasn't sure to what level it could reach. But if it was infused with the sacred liquid, the primal chaos ancient lamp's potential would increase even more. If the primal chaos ancient lamp had the potential to become a top-tier immortal artifact after infusing it with the sacred liquid, it might have the potential to surpass immortal artifacts. Even if it couldn't surpass immortal artifacts, it would still be 1 step closer to surpassing immortal artifacts. Now, Lin Feng's primal chaos ancient lamp was close to the level of an emperor artifact. However, whether it was a person or a treasure, it was extremely difficult to break through to the emperor realm. Moreover, Lin Feng's primal chaos ancient lamp was infused with so many top-tier treasures, making it even more difficult to break through. Lin Feng felt that infusing the sacred liquid could be an opportunity. Perhaps it could help the primal chaos ancient lamp break through to the level of an emperor artifact. If the primal chaos ancient lamp broke through to the level of an emperor artifact, it would be terrifying. In the following month, Lin Feng began to form a blood bond with the primal chaos ancient lamp. The sacred liquid began to infuse into the primal chaos ancient lamp, and the primal chaos ancient lamp was undergoing a transformation. This transformation surprised Lin Feng, because once the transformation was successful, Lin Feng felt that the primal chaos ancient lamp would break through to the level of an emperor artifact. Finally, all of the sacred liquid, was devoured by the primal chaos ancient lamp. Dong, dong, dong. A mysterious sound came from within the primal chaos ancient lamp. Listen carefully. It was like the sound of a heavenly drum. That sound, it was the sound of the great Tao. The sound of the great Tao rose in spirals, sweeping across heaven and earth. It swept across all directions. All living beings bowed down. Rays of sacred light intertwined. That sacred light made Lin Feng feel a sacred aura. Ethereal laughter suddenly came from within the primal chaos ancient lamp. Lin Feng could vaguely see that a little boy had appeared within the primal chaos ancient lamp. The little boy looked to be around 3 or 4 years old and was innocent and naive. Artifact spirit? Is it an artifact spirit? The artifact spirit of the primal chaos ancient lamp? Lin Feng could not help but be shocked. The artifact spirit of the primal chaos ancient lamp had always been in the process of being nurtured. Before the artifact spirit was fully nurtured, it could take on a myriad of forms. No one knew what its specific form would be. Only after it was fully nurtured. Only then would one know what form the artifact spirit would choose to take in. Lin Feng had once sensed the artifact spirit of the primal chaos ancient lamp. Sometimes it would take the form of a dragon, sometimes it would take the form of a treasure, sometimes it would take the form of a Taotai, and so on. Now, the artifact spirit of the primal chaos ancient lamp had finally been nurtured. The artifact spirit of the primal chaos ancient lamp. It was that little boy. Boom. Chapter 3187. The primal chaos ancient lamp was finally going to undergo tribulation. Lin Feng had been looking forward to this day for a long time. If the primal chaos ancient lamp successfully underwent tribulation, it would become a monarch weapon and be invincible. Lin Feng believed that the primal chaos ancient lamp would become the king of all weapons one day. He swept through the heavens, sweeping everything before him. Lin Feng quickly flew out. He didn't let the primal chaos ancient lamp undergo tribulation in the demonic race's ancestral land. Instead, he went outside the demonic race's ancestral land. Lightning intertwined, and terrifying lightning swept across the land. A huge sea of lightning formed above the 9 heavens. At this moment, amidst the sea of lightning, numerous lightning dragons and snakes began to swim about. The primal chaos ancient lamp's tribulation was definitely a terrifying one. However, Lin Feng didn't know what kind of tribulation it was. He would have to wait until the primal chaos ancient lamp underwent tribulation. The number of tribulations a magic treasure underwent was not as many as the number of tribulations a cultivator underwent. Usually, magic treasures would only undergo tribulation at critical moments. For example, when he broke through to monarch weapon or immortal weapon, only when there was a huge leap would he undergo tribulation. It wasn't like cultivators who underwent tribulation when they broke through to the great emperor realm. However, from the first heaven of the great emperor realm to the immortal emperor realm, he would undergo tribulation too. This was the difference between magic treasures and cultivators. Other than this difference, magic treasures and cultivators were exactly the same in other aspects. There were countless cultivators who died during the tribulation. It was even more difficult for magic treasures to undergo tribulation than for cultivators. The success rate for magic treasures was even lower. Boom, boom, boom. Thick lightning bolts descended from the sky and struck towards the primal chaos ancient lamp. Lin Feng stood in the distance and watched the primal chaos ancient lamp undergo tribulation. Lin Feng was extremely confident in the primal chaos ancient lamp because it was infused with too many immortal materials and sage materials. Lin Feng didn't dare to say that he would succeed in the immortal weapon tribulation. However, the great emperor tribulation, Lin Feng believed that the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp would succeed. The Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp was truly extraordinary. It neutralized one lightning tribulation after another. More than 3,000 lightning tribulation descended, but they were unable to harm the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp. However, an even more terrifying lightning tribulation was brewing. Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. The thunder tribulation that the chaotic ancient lamp was facing was most likely a great karmic tribulation. This tribulation contained 9,999 bolts of lightning. Its power was frightening to the point of causing others to be aghast. It was absolutely a terrifying heavenly tribulation. What shocked Lin Feng was that he was facing such a terrifying heavenly tribulation. The Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp was actually able to dissolve all of the tribulations. In the end, the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp withstood 9,999 types of tribulation lightning. After the lightning tribulation was resolved, the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp had broken through to the Monarch armament level. It's finally broken through. The Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp has finally broken through to the Sovereign weapon grade. Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. Once the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp broke through to the Monarch weapon level, it would enter a whole new level. It was the same for cultivators. Once a cultivator broke through to the Great Emperor realm, their life would undergo a complete transformation. Before breaking through, they would be like ants. After breaking through, they would become a dragon. That was the difference. Therefore, the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp's breakthrough to the Monarch weapon level was too important. It was a crucial transformation. Lin Feng waved his hand at the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp. The Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp quickly flew towards Lin Feng and hovered before Lin Feng. Lin Feng gently touched the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp. Instantly, he felt a powerful energy surging like the sea from within the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp. Lin Feng couldn't help but be astonished by that monstrous strength. Lin Feng had the impression that the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp was even more powerful than the Hell King Bell, the Celestial Drum, and other treasures. This was the uniqueness of a natal treasure. Although the Hell King's Bell and Heavenly Drum were high-level treasures, Lin Feng could only use a small portion of their power. Although the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp's level couldn't compare to these treasures, Lin Feng could use 100% of the lamp's power. This was the biggest difference between the two treasures. Lin Feng put away the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp and returned to the Yao ancestral land. The heretical sovereign saint and the stone puppet king came out of seclusion one after another. Their cultivations had greatly improved. The stone puppet king was unfathomable to begin with, but Lin Feng felt that the stone puppet king's aura seemed to have undergone a special transformation. It seemed to be a change in the level of life. Lin Feng couldn't help but ponder. Was the stone puppet king about to undergo another life evolution? The next time the stone puppet king evolved, it would be from a body of flesh and blood to a body of stone. The heretical sovereign saint's cultivation rose by 8 levels, reaching the peak of the God Emperor realm. Moreover, tribulation light appeared on his forehead, indicating that he was about to undergo a tribulation. The heretical sovereign saint followed suit and finally broke through to the immortal emperor realm. Duzu also came out of seclusion not long after. Originally, his cultivation was about the same as the heretical sovereign saint's, but when he came out, he discovered that the heretical sovereign saint had broken through to the immortal emperor realm. The poison ancestor immediately pounded his chest, regretting that he didn't refine his body into a powerful magic treasure. If he'd refined his body into a powerful treasure like the heretical sovereign saint, he might have been an immortal emperor realm cultivator by now. Of course, Poison Ancestor's mood quickly returned to normal because this guy had used the holy liquid to refine his life source magic weapon, and the power of his life source magic weapon had been greatly increased. The Great Pun King and the others also came out of seclusion, one after another. Everyone's natal treasures had been greatly improved, so they were all in a good mood. Feng Yarao had been in seclusion all this time. When she came out, she heard that Lin Feng had come to the Yao ancestral land, so she came to find Lin Feng. The two of them flirted for a while before snuggling up to each other. Lin Feng asked, "Did you see father-in-law in Lulan Island?" Feng Yarao nodded and said softly, "I saw him, but he left in a hurry. We didn't manage to say much before we parted." Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. He then asked, "Why is that?" Feng Yarao shook her head and said, "Father said that he has something extremely important to do, so he'll take the initiative to contact me. He said that he wants me to be prepared to leave the 9 provinces at any time." Lin Feng frowned slightly and asked, "Did you ask him about the reason?" Feng Yarao said, "I did, but he didn't tell me." Lin Feng asked, "Is it possible that father-in-law has found some clues about the ancient city of Lulan?" That, Chapter 3188. Lin Feng had been thinking about going to the Undying clan, and he had told the Stone Puppet King, Great Pun King, and the others about his plans. These people naturally stood by Lin Feng's side, without hesitation. If Lin Feng needed them, he could gather them at any time. Lin Feng was extremely grateful to these seniors. However, Lin Feng decided to return to the Reincarnation Immortal Sect first. He had received a secret letter from the Reincarnation Immortal Sutra. After reading the contents of the letter, Lin Feng couldn't help but be surprised. The letter told Lin Feng that Lord Tortoise's injuries had worsened. When Lin Feng returned to the Reincarnation Immortal Sect, Lord Tortoise's injuries seemed to have healed. However, after reading the letter, Lin Feng realized that Lord Tortoise had not fully recovered. Lord Tortoise had acted as if he had fully recovered because he did not want the people around him to worry about him. Now that Lord Tortoise's injuries had worsened, Lin Feng felt his mind go blank. Although Lin Feng and Lord Tortoise had quarreled over the years, Lin Feng was actually very respectful to this cheap master of his. The relationship between master and disciple was very deep. Now that Lord Tortoise's injuries had worsened, Lin Feng could no longer sit still. He quickly bid farewell to the Stone Puppet King, Great Pun King, and the others. At this point, even the most important matters were no longer important. Lin Feng only wanted to return to the sect and see how Lord Tortoise was doing. When Lin Feng returned to the sect, he saw Lord Tortoise sitting on a rocking chair, sunbathing with his eyes closed. "Big brother, you're back." Little Meng Meng was very happy to see Lin Feng return. The delicate little girl from back then had now grown into a slender and elegant girl. Little Meng Meng had been cultivating with Lord Tortoise all these years, and her cultivation had improved so quickly that even Lin Feng was dumbfounded. Lin Feng smiled and rubbed the little girl's head lovingly. He then came to Lord Tortoise's side and asked, "Master, how is your body?" Master Turtle smiled and said, "Did that fella from the Reincarnation Immortal Scripture tell you? You don't have to worry. I only spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. What could happen? Do what you need to do. Don't be distracted by this matter." Lin Feng looked at Lord Tortoise's pale face, and his heart couldn't help but lament. Lord Tortoise was obviously seriously injured. However, he didn't want her to worry, so he pretended that he wasn't injured. But Lin Feng knew Lord Tortoise's body was at its weakest right now. "Master, is there any way to help you recover?" Lin Feng asked. "I need to rely on myself. The main thing is that I don't have your immortal divine body. If I did, I wouldn't be in such a situation now. Lord Tortoise grinned. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. If he could transfer the immortal divine body's ability to Lord Tortoise, he wouldn't hesitate to do so, because in Lin Feng's heart, Lord Tortoise was no longer just his master. Many times, Lin Feng treated Lord Tortoise as his family. Lord Tortoise said, "Silly boy, if you're really worried about me, then treat me better while I'm still alive." "Bah, don't say such unlucky things." Lin Feng said, "Ha ha ha ha, some things will eventually happen." Lord Tortoise said, and then he became quiet. Lin Feng asked, "Master, now that I'm able to stand on my own, can I tell you the identity of the person who injured you?" Lord Tortoise said indifferently, "If I tell you, I'll have to collect your corpse. If I can tell you some things, I'll definitely tell you. If I can't, then don't ask anymore." Lord Tortoise's face became serious. Lin Feng knew Lord Tortoise didn't say these things for his own safety. However, when he saw Lord Tortoise's pale face, Lin Feng was mad with hatred. He couldn't wait to cut the person who injured Lord Tortoise into pieces. However, there was nothing he could do. Lin Feng didn't know who that person was, and Lord Tortoise didn't seem to want to reveal that person's identity to Lin Feng. Lin Feng knew Lord Tortoise's character very well. Since Lord Tortoise didn't want to say, then, no matter what he said, Lord Tortoise wouldn't tell him. 3 days later, outside the Reincarnation Immortal Sect, a large amount of black fog was rolling. In the black fog, many fierce beasts crushed the void and flew quickly in the direction of the Reincarnation Immortal Sect. There was a knight in black armor sitting on each of the beasts. Those knights, they were all black-armored knights. Thousands of well-trained black-armored knights moved in unison. Hum! A loud dragon's roar came from the void. Crack! The void cracked. A huge black dragon flew out. There was a cultivator standing on the back of the huge black dragon. This cultivator was the black-robed dragon knight. The black-robed dragon knight led the terrifying black-armored knights that almost destroyed the Tiandao sect to the mountain gate of the Reincarnation Immortal Sect. This race, they were extremely arrogant and had never suffered any losses. They didn't care about any other race. However, a few months ago, the holy artifact was taken by Lin Feng. The black-robed dragon knight was extremely angry and regarded this as a great humiliation. The black-robed dragon knight wanted to kill Lin Feng to vent his anger. However, he knew that Lin Feng was the prey of the Tai Dao supremacy. Therefore, the black-robed dragon knight told the Tai Dao supremacy about his plan to deal with Lin Feng. He thought that the Tai Dao supremacy would refuse. Who would have thought that the Tai Dao supremacy would agree? This made the black-robed dragon knight very excited. Of course, the black-robed dragon knight wanted to deal with Lin Feng not only because of the holy artifact. The main reason was that he heard that Lin Feng had many powerful inheritances. He also saw Lin Feng take out the Bell of Hell King and the Sky Drum. Previously, Lin Feng was the prey of the Tai Dao supremacy. The black-robed dragon knight didn't have a good reason to attack Lin Feng. Now, he found an opportunity to deal with Lin Feng. "Lin Feng, it's time for you to die." The black-robed dragon knight's lips curled into a sinister smile. His eyes flashed with killing intent. 3 days later, the group saw the Reincarnation Immortal Sect. "Sir, we're here," a black-armored knight reported. "Destroy the 10 mountains of the Reincarnation Immortal Sect first." Chapter 30, 189. Now that the cultivators of the Dragon Sect and their families had fully integrated into the Reincarnation Immortal Sect, they got along very well with the disciples of the Reincarnation Immortal Sect. Therefore, there were disciples of the reincarnation immortal sect on the mountain peaks. There were also cultivators who originally belonged to the Dragon Gate or the family members of the Dragon Gate cultivators. After receiving the order, the group of black armored knights rode their beasts and charged towards the mountain peak closest to them. Who are you? This is an important place of the reincarnation immortal sect. A disciple on patrol noticed this group of uninvited guests and warned them. He hoped that these people would take the initiative to retreat, but they clearly had no intention of retreating. Swoosh! Suddenly, under the lead of the leader of the black armored knights, the cultivators of the black armored knights swung their spears at the disciples of the reincarnation immortal sect. The combat strength of these black armored knights was not to be underestimated. When they joined forces, they almost destroyed the heavenly Tao sect. In front of them, ordinary cultivators simply had no power to fight back. The disciples of the reincarnation immortal sect were no match for these black armored knights. Puff! With a tearing sound, the patrolling disciple of the reincarnation celestial sect was killed. Then, the black armored knights flew to the top of the first mountain peak and attacked together. Everyone's movements were exactly the same. Even the movements of the beasts they were riding were exactly the same. It was this almost strict uniformity that allowed the black armored knights to combine their strength. Lin Feng had observed the black armored knights before. He was studying the composition of the black armored knights. No matter who encountered such a terrifying army, they would not be able to resist the urge to study it. They would want to find out the reason for this army's strength. After some careful study, Lin Feng discovered, among the black armored knights, there were only 3 Emperor Realm cultivators. These 3 Emperor Realm cultivators were the leader and the 2 deputy leaders. The rest of them had not reached the Emperor Realm. Even the 3 Emperor Realm cultivators were at the God Emperor Realm. They were not particularly powerful Emperor Realm cultivators. After all, Emperor Realm cultivators were rare. It was impossible for a group of Emperor Realm cultivators to appear so casually. The advantage of the black armored knights was that when they attacked, everyone would attack together. If they didn't attack, no one would attack. This kind of strict discipline seemed to have been deeply ingrained in the bones of the black armored knights. Therefore, although this legion was small in number, it was still very strong. However, he possessed heaven-defying battle prowess. This was a terrifying combat power that could destroy many hidden sects and families. The black armored knights killed almost silently. The destruction of the first mountain of the reincarnation celestial sect and the deaths of tens of thousands of people did not even cause a stir. However, the situation here was still seen by others. Woo, 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 woo. The sound of the bugle horn shocked the entire reincarnation immortal sect. What happened? Many people were shocked. Different trumpets had different meanings. The urgent sound of the horn meant that something extremely dangerous was about to happen. And this kind of thing could very well endanger the safety of the sect. The reincarnation celestial sect was very powerful now. Not only did it have Lord Tortoise, but it also had Lin Feng, a rising star. It was enough to intimidate everyone. Moreover, the reincarnation celestial sect had a celestial artifact. Therefore, very few people dared to cause trouble at the reincarnation celestial sect. Lin Feng was also alarmed. He quickly flew out and saw the black-robed dragon knight and his black-armored knights from afar. The black-armored knights were invincible. They destroyed 5 mountains in a row. All the cultivators on the mountains were killed, a total of 50,000 people. They were killed just like that. Lin Feng's eyes turned red when he saw this. He was so angry that his eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. activate the reincarnation celestial sect formation. Lin Feng shouted. Whoosh! The reincarnation celestial sutra appeared. He was controlling the entire reincarnation celestial sect formation. Buzz! A huge energy shield was formed. It protected the reincarnation celestial sect. It blocked the black-robed dragon knight and his black-armored knights outside. Stop! The black-robed dragon knight said indifferently. He did not allow the black-armored knights to continue attacking. He looked coldly at Lin Feng. His eyes flashed with a sinister expression. Then he said, Lin Feng, what happened just now was a greeting gift for you. I wanted to destroy 10 mountains as a greeting gift for you. Since you've come out, I'll just destroy 5 mountains for now. You deserve to die 1,000 times. Lin Feng's eyes flashed with murderous intent. The black-robed dragon knight relied on his strength to do things without any principles. He was vicious and merciless. Lin Feng hated him to the core. Deserve to die 1,000 times? No, no, no. Our race controls the power of judgment and death. No one can control our lives. Instead, the lives of ants like you are in our hands. Killing all of you is as easy as flipping my hand. The black-robed dragon knight laughed sinisterly. His eyes flashed with an extremely evil light. He looked like an evil god that had walked out from hell. He represented the most evil power in the world. Lin Feng said indifferently, As far as I know, your race hasn't been killed. It's not like no one from your clan has ever been killed. My ancestor once killed a cultivator from your clan. Ha ha ha. Your ancestor? What a joke. How is that possible? Don't flatter yourself. You're simply ignorant to the extreme. The black-robed dragon knight couldn't help but laugh loudly. His laughter was filled with disdain and mockery. Let me tell you, many members of the Sovereign Emperor's race have died at the hands of my race. Suddenly, the black-robed dragon knight threw out a bombshell. What? Lin Feng immediately cried out in shock. He looked at the black-robed dragon knight in disbelief. The ancestors of the Sovereign Emperor's race were so powerful. How could they have died like this? Lin Feng found it hard to accept. What kind of race could control the fate of the Sovereign Emperor's race? The black-robed dragon knight looked at Lin Feng arrogantly. Then he said indifferently, What? You don't believe this matter? Lin Feng's expression was incomparably gloomy. He wanted to say that he didn't believe it. But Lin Feng discovered something. In the depths of his heart, he seemed to believe this matter. Thus, at this moment, Lin Feng didn't even know how to respond to the black-robed dragon knight. The fate of Sinner's blood should be like this. The black-robed dragon knight continued, mentioning the words Sinner's blood. Chapter 3190. At this moment, Lin Feng's emotions were somewhat out of control. He hated the words Sinner's blood. In the past, his ancestors had done many things for the 9 regions, but they became Sinner's blood. How could Lin Feng not be angry? His killing intent was monstrous. Sinner's blood is sinner's blood. It's lowly, dirty, and shouldn't exist in this world. Lin Feng, I'll give you a chance. Hand over all your magical powers, magic weapons, and other treasures, and I'll give you a quick death. If you dare to disobey me, I'll destroy the reincarnation immortal sect today. The black-robed dragon knight said coldly. This guy was extremely confident. He actually believed that this group of people could destroy the reincarnation immortal sect. Lin Feng said indifferently, Ridiculous. You think too highly of yourself. Our reincarnation immortal sect is not the heavenly Tao sect. Do you think you can destroy us as you wish? Since you've come to the reincarnation immortal sect today, I'll make sure you don't return. Once you fall into my hands, I'll let you taste endless pain and torture. I'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. At this time, the reincarnation immortal scripture began to activate the reincarnation immortal sect's great formation. There were many types of great formations in the reincarnation immortal sect. The great formation activated by the reincarnation immortal scripture was the sect protection great formation. Now, the great formation activated by the reincarnation immortal scripture was the attack great formation. These attack great formations were ready to attack the black-robed dragon knight and the black-armored knights at any time. You're just an ant, or is it that injured black tortoise? The black-robed dragon knight couldn't help but reveal a mocking expression. Very few people knew about Lord Turtle's injury. Even within the reincarnation immortal sect, the people who knew about this matter were limited to the highest level. Outside cultivators had no way of knowing about this matter, but the black-robed dragon knight actually knew about this matter. It was really unbelievable. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel very shocked. He didn't know why the black-robed dragon knight knew about this matter, but since the black-robed dragon knight mentioned it now, there must be some kind of connection between them. An idea instantly emerged in Lin Feng's mind. Could Lord Tortoise's injury be related to the black-robed dragon knight's clan? This clan was so powerful. In the past, Grand Tao supremacy, Yuan-Tian supremacy, Taichu supremacy, and Nirvana supremacy had joined forces and even injured his ancestor, Lin Qi. Therefore, Lin Feng did not find it strange that an expert from this clan had defeated Master Turtle. Of course, all of this was Lin Feng's conjecture. Only Lord Tortoise himself knew how he got injured. Before Lord Tortoise said anything, nothing could be confirmed. If I capture you, I can learn a lot of things. Lin Feng's voice was ice cold as he waved his hand. One supreme treasure after another flew out. The Sage Royal Stone, Ancient Devil Ring, Devil Orb, Xianming Devil Book, Heavenly Drum, 9 Devil Picture, Reincarnation Devil Palace, Demon Emperor Chong Lu, Demon Emperor Yao Di's Small World, 5 Dragon Wheel, 5 Flames 7 Foul Fan, Stone Sword, Hell King Bell, etc. Powerful Dharma treasures flew out and entered the array cores of the reincarnation immortal sect's grand formation. With so many powerful Dharma treasures, the power of the reincarnation immortal sect's grand formation could be fully activated. Break the grand formation and capture Lin Feng alive. Kill everyone else. Leave no one alive. The black-robed dragon knight said indifferently, "Yes." After receiving the order, the black-robed dragon knights shouted in unison. Their voices were earth-shattering. Then they attacked together. They waved the battle spears in their hands and attacked the grand formation of the reincarnation immortal sect. They wanted to destroy the grand formation of the reincarnation immortal sect. At the same time, the grand formation of the reincarnation immortal sect was activated. Attacks covered the sky and the earth as they attacked. Bang, bang, bang. The two sides collided. Lin Feng, the reincarnation immortal sutra, Du Zhu, and the evil supremacy saint all attacked. They sat in the array cores of the grand formation and commanded the entire situation. All kinds of powerful attacks were unleashed. The power of the grand formation of the reincarnation immortal sutra was released. Lin Feng also took out so many supreme Dharma treasures to support it. The power of the absolute kill grand array was simply astounding. Although the black armor cavalry was invincible, they were no match for the reincarnation immortal sect's ultimate killing formation. Bang, bang, bang. After a series of violent collisions, the black-armored knights gradually fell into a disadvantageous position. Lin Feng's spirits were greatly lifted. He continued to activate the ultimate killing formation of the reincarnation immortal sect and continued to increase its power. Under the increasingly powerful attacks of the ultimate killing formation, the Black Armored Knights also suffered losses. Poochie, poochie, poochie. Tearing sounds could be heard one after another. One after another, the bodies of the Black Armored Knights were torn apart. More than a dozen Black Armored Knights were killed. Every death of a Black Armored Knight was a great loss. As such, the Black-Robed Dragon Knight was enraged by the loss of a dozen Black Armored Knights. He could not help but roar angrily, "Damn you! You killed my subordinates. Once I capture you, I'll slice off your flesh piece by piece, and let you have a taste of what it's like to wish you were dead." After the Black-Robed Dragon Knight's cold voice fell, next, he also attacked. He personally led the Black Armored Knights to resist the attacks of the Reincarnation Immortal Sect's ultimate killing formation. After the Black-Robed Dragon Knight joined the battle, these people's battle strength increased greatly. It was extremely difficult to kill the Black Armored Knights again. Moreover, Lin Feng's side was losing their advantage bit by bit. This was mainly because the Black-Robed Dragon Knight's realm was too high. He was at least at the peak of the Imperial Emperor realm. This was a realm that Lin Feng still had to look up to at the current stage. This realm was the super overlord level in the Starry Sky world. Moreover, the Black-Robed Dragon Knight's clan was obviously not an ordinary clan. Otherwise, they would not be so powerful. The Black-Robed Dragon Knight should also be able to fight enemies of a higher realm. As such, it was not an exaggeration to say that the Black-Robed Dragon Knight was an Imperial Emperor realm expert. After such a terrifying existence joined the battle, it was very likely that the entire battle would be turned around. Many of the great formations on Lin Feng's side were gradually being destroyed. The situation was getting worse and worse. Lin Feng, today, no one in the world can save your life. It seems that you are prepared to die. The Black-Robed Dragon Knight laughed sinisterly. Lin Feng sneered and said, "It's too early to boast. It's still not certain who will win." The Black-Robed Dragon Knight said sinisterly, "Just a bunch of ants and a few low-level Imperial Emperors. If you didn't have so many powerful treasures to support the ultimate killing formation, you people would have died countless times already." Lin Feng sneered and said, "The Reincarnation Immortal Sect can now send out close to 20 million cultivators. If we activate the Great Formation together, it will be enough to destroy you. Just a bunch of ants. What's the use of having so many people? It's just a waste of energy. In the end, only death awaits." Chapter 3191. Lin Feng couldn't help but sneer. The Black-Robed Dragon Knight was indeed very powerful. Together with the Black Armored Knights he led, they were naturally terrifying. However, the Black-Robed Dragon Knight had underestimated Lin Feng's side. The Reincarnation Immortal Sect was founded with the Dragon Sect as its foundation. This was because the Dragon Sect that Lin Feng had founded had already expanded to a colossus that far surpassed the Reincarnation Immortal Sect. Although Lin Feng had encountered enmity from many races, extraterrestrial races, and other external forces, some of the Dragon Sect's cultivators were worried about Lin Feng's future and left the Dragon Sect. However, even so, there were at least 17 to 18 million cultivators from the Dragon Sect who could participate in the battle. Together with the disciples of the Reincarnation Immortal Sect, Lin Feng now had about 20 million cultivators who could participate in the battle. As the saying went, ants could bite an elephant to death. Individually, the Black-Robed Dragon Knight could be compared to a giant dragon. In front of the Black-Robed Dragon Knight, Lin Feng and the others from the Reincarnation Immortal Sect were all ants. But so what if they were ants? Lin Feng believed that if ants could bite an elephant to death, they could also bite a giant dragon to death. Moreover, the black-robed dragon knight had neglected an extremely important matter. That was when these ants in the black-robed dragon knight's eyes activated the formation together. The power of these ants would be connected together. At that time, this power would be enough to topple mountains and overturn seas. Water accumulated into an ocean. This was the principle. Even the ocean was formed by the accumulation of water droplets. With the combined power of so many cultivators, how terrifying would the power of the formation be if these cultivators fought individually? Then, if the power was scattered, perhaps, as the black-robed dragon knight had said, there was nothing to be afraid of at all. No matter how they struggled, it would be futile in the end. But now, everyone was activating the formation. The reincarnation immortal sex formation gathered everyone's power together. This was different. Sacrifice my head, shed my blood, and I am willing to use my 3-foot-long Qing Feng sword to protect the sect. Lin Feng floated in midair and shouted loudly, shaking the heavens and earth. Sacrifice your head, shed my blood. I'm willing to use my Qing Feng sword. Protect the sect. I have no regrets, even if I die. An earth-shattering roar came from the reincarnation immortal sect. He's from the reincarnation peak of the reincarnation immortal sect, a disciple of the reincarnation peak of the reincarnation immortal sect, a disciple of the samsara immortal sect, reincarnation immortal sect's 9 heavens sect, disciples of the array formation peak of the reincarnation immortal sect, a disciple of the medicine refining peak of the reincarnation immortal sect, Dragon Gate's raging flame core, Dragon Gate's violent blood legion, Dragon Gate's battle dragon army, Dragon Gate's mad beast army. The cultivators on the mountain peaks all soared into the sky. One by one, they let out an earth-shaking roar. In the void, an endless amount of blood chi appeared. Roar, amidst the blood chi, a crimson dragon appeared. The blood-red dragon roared at the sky, its roar shaking the heavens. When they saw the crimson dragon, everyone's faces couldn't help but reveal a shocked expression. Transforming chi into a dragon. How is this possible? The auras of these ants have joined together to form a crimson dragon. That's incredible. The black-robed dragon knight couldn't help but exclaim. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The legend of the mountain and sea scriptures, heavenly soldiers, recorded that 3 million heavenly soldiers went to war to quell the chaos in the demonic world. The auras of the 3 million heavenly soldiers combined to form a crimson dragon. This crimson dragon was formed by the auras of the heavenly soldiers. The heavenly soldiers were the most powerful army in the entire universe. They were the most elite army in the heaven realm that ruled over everything. The crimson dragon that could only be formed by the heavenly soldiers was formed by the cultivators of the reincarnation immortal sect. No wonder the black-robed dragon knight was so shocked. In fact, anyone who saw this scene would be shocked and incredulous. The black-robed dragon knight wasn't the only one who felt this way. Lin Feng was also shocked. He knew the story of the mountain and sea scripture very well. However, Lin Feng soon understood. The remaining cultivators of the dragon sect were loyal to him. The cultivators of the reincarnation immortal sect were also loyal to him. These people treated the reincarnation immortal sect as their home. Everyone's heart was the same, to protect their home. Everyone wanted to unite by Lin Feng's side, even if it meant sacrificing their lives. It was precisely because of this kind of willpower that he had to press forward with no regrets, even if he had to die 9 times. It formed the crimson dragon in front of them. Rumble! The powerful dermic powers of 20 million cultivators gathered into an ocean. The dermic powers surged into the formation. Buzz. Next, the peerless treasures in each of the formation eyes were revealed. The Xianming demonic book, Heavenly Drum, 9 demons picture, Reincarnation demonic palace, 5 dragons wheel, 5 flames 7 birds fan, stone sword, Hell King Bell, Demon Emperor Chong Lu, Demon Emperor Small World, Saint Kingstone, Ancient Demon's Ring, Demonic Orb, and many other supreme treasures. After receiving such a powerful infusion of dermic powers, they were all activated. Each of the supreme treasures exuded a supreme treasure that could destroy the heavens and the earth. Some of the supreme treasures' weapon spirits were even awakened. These supreme treasures were now guarding the various formation eyes of the Great Killing Formation, becoming one with the Great Killing Formation. The power of each formation was raised to the peak. Boom, boom, boom. Then, the overwhelming attacks once again blasted toward the black-robed Dragon Knight and the black-armored knights. Under the leadership of the black-robed Dragon Knight, the black-armored knights resisted the attacks of the various formations and gradually gained the upper hand. Many of the formations of the Reincarnation Immortal Sect were destroyed by these people. But now, these people were gradually unable to hold on. Uft, uft, uft. The sound of flesh tearing could be heard continuously. The powerful black-armored knights were killed one after another. Damn it! Damn it! The black-robed Dragon Knight's expression was extremely gloomy. His eyes flashed with killing intent. Sir, the enemy's attacks are too powerful. I'm afraid the knights can't hold on. Sir, please make a decision quickly. Should we leave this place now? The leader of the black-armored knights hurried to report. In a short period of time, they had lost nearly 100 people. If it took a little longer, at that time, everyone would probably die without a proper burial ground. The black-robed Dragon Knight's expression was extremely gloomy. He was an extremely proud person. Letting him escape was worse than killing him. To the black-robed Dragon Knight, it was a huge humiliation. But, after a series of mental struggles, Yi Zichen decided to leave. The black-robed Dragon Knight finally decided to escape. Chapter 3192. Go! The black-robed Dragon Knight couldn't help but shout in a deep voice. He led the remaining black-armored knights to escape. Lin Feng said indifferently, "It's too late to escape now. Don't even think about escaping. I'll give you a word of advice. No one in this world can save your life." As his voice fell, Lin Feng continued to urge the Great Formation. Under his urging, the Great Formation's power was completely released. All kinds of terrifying attacks bombarded the black-armored knights and the black-robed Dragon Knight. The Great Formation sealed the world. The black-robed Dragon Knight and the black-armored knights were trapped in the Great Formation and couldn't get out. Unless these people could quickly tear the Great Formation apart in a short time, they could only get out. At the same time, a new Great Formation was activated. This time, it was an illusion formation. A large amount of white fog surged out, covering the sky. The white fog directly separated the black-robed Dragon Knight and the black-armored knights. Even the members of the black-armored knights were gradually separated by the white fog. The white fog obscured everyone's vision. No one could see what was going on around them. As a result, the attacks of Lin Feng and the others were even more threatening, because whether it was the black-robed Dragon Knight or the black-armored knights, they were basically fighting alone. Under such circumstances, their combat strength had dropped tremendously. Pooh, pooh, pooh. The earth-shattering attacks rained down. Ripping sounds rang out one after another as more and more black-armored knights were killed. Hearing the endless screams, the black-robed Dragon Knight was extremely angry. The black-robed Dragon Knight was infuriated. His eyes flashed with rage and killing intent. He had never been so sullen. Now, the black-robed Dragon Knight wanted nothing more than to cut off Lin Feng's flesh piece by piece. It didn't take long for the screams to disappear. The black-armored knights, they were completely wiped out. The black-robed dragon knight was obviously aware of this. So, at this moment, the black-robed dragon knight was simply mad with hatred. He roared angrily, "Lin Feng, you little bastard! You actually killed the black-armored knights under my command. You deserve to die 10,000 times. I won't forgive you." At this time, Lin Feng had just collected the essence of the 3 black-armored knights. After hearing the black-robed dragon knight's words, he sneered and said, "You can't even protect yourself, and you still dare to threaten me here. How ridiculous. When I catch you later, I won't kill you directly. Instead, I will first interrogate you about your secrets, and then I will take your worthless life." Boom, boom, an even more powerful attack was brewing. It blotted out the sky with an earth-shattering might. It was truly frightening. The black-robed dragon knight and the black-robed dragon knights attempt to break through the encirclement, but several attempts failed. Streaks of terrifying, destructive power descended from the sky. If it wasn't for the black-robed dragon knights, the black-robed dragon knight was S's, although the black-robed dragon knight's realm was high, and he was powerful, he was now fighting alone. And Lin Feng's side didn't just have a lot of people, they also had a lot of top-grade magic treasures and various killing formations. Though the black-robed dragon knight wasn't injured, he had consumed a lot of his magic power. Lin Feng was very confident in killing the black-robed dragon knight. No matter how strong the black-robed dragon knight was, as long as he was trapped in the formation, his magic power would run out sooner or later. Once the black-robed dragon knight's magic power ran out, at that time, the black-robed dragon knight would only have a path of death. Thinking of this, Lin Feng and the others worked together to launch an even more powerful attack. Puchi, puchi, puchi. The sound of tearing rang out again. This time, it was the black-robed dragon knight's mount that was injured, the powerful black dragon. Now, the black dragon's body was covered in wounds so deep that bone could be seen. Those wounds were all bleeding scarlet blood. The most fatal wound was the wound on the black dragon's wing. The powerful black dragon's right wing had a wound that was nearly 100 meters long. This wound caused great damage to the black dragon, causing its flying speed to suddenly decrease. Lin Feng, negotiate. This seat wants to negotiate with you. The black-robed dragon knight's expression was extremely gloomy. He roared in an extremely sullen manner. The current situation was too unfavorable for him. The black-robed dragon knight knew that if this continued, he would definitely die. So, the black-robed dragon knight thought of negotiating. The black-robed dragon knight now only had one thought, and that was to quickly leave the reincarnation immortal sect. As long as he could escape. At that time, he would invite the Tai Dao Honorable Lord to kill Lin Feng. The black-robed dragon knight's idea was good, but Lin Feng didn't give the black-robed dragon knight a chance at all. He said with an indifferent expression, "Even if you kneel down and beg me, you won't be able to escape death today." Boom, boom, boom. All kinds of powerful attacks continued to bombard the black-robed dragon knight. The black-robed dragon knight's expression became extremely ugly. Lin Feng's attacks were simply too powerful. The black-robed dragon knight's side was becoming more and more difficult to resist. The terrifying attacks continued to bombard the black dragon's body. The black dragon's injuries became more and more serious, and it let out a miserable cry. In the end, the black dragon was also killed. The black dragon was also in the Immortal Emperor realm, and it was also in the Immortal Emperor realm. Its origin was very powerful. Lin Feng put away the black dragon's origin and body. Now, Only the black-robed dragon knight was left bitterly holding on. Aren't you very awesome? In the end, you became a stray dog. What a slap in the face. Do you feel the burning pain on your face? Lin Feng said mockingly. The black-robed dragon knight thought about how his black-robed dragon knight and his black dragon had all been killed. He then thought about how he was forced into such a state by a group of ants that he looked down on. Now, when he heard Lin Feng's mockery and ridicule, he was furious. He was instantly enraged. Barf! The black-robed dragon knight spat out a mouthful of blood. Bang! The stone sword took advantage of this opportunity to silently fly behind the black-robed dragon knight and slash at him. The terrifying attack landed on the black-robed dragon knight's body and sent him flying. Lin Feng was shocked. He originally thought that the stone sword would be able to cut the black-robed dragon knight in half, but it didn't. However, Lin Feng heard the clanging sound of the collision just now. Lin Feng guessed that the black-robed dragon knight was wearing a powerful defensive magic robe. Although the black-robed dragon knight wasn't killed, the stone sword was simply too powerful. That slash had broken many of the black-robed dragon knight's bones. The black-robed dragon knight's face was as pale as paper. Chapter 30:193. The black-robed dragon knight's fighting strength had fallen to its lowest point. Lin Feng naturally saw all of this, so his attack speed became faster and faster. Lin Feng commanded the whole situation, while the immortal reincarnation scripture assisted Lin Feng from the side. All kinds of terrifying attacks bombarded the black-robed dragon knight. The black-robed dragon knight waved the battle spear in his hand, sweeping away these attacks, but it was difficult to block each wave of attacks stronger than the last. Ah! The black-robed dragon knight's roar shook the sky, extremely angry. Now that he had fallen to such a state, he was both sullen and unwilling. However, the black-robed dragon knight was simply unable to contend against the cultivator army led by Lin Feng. In the end, the black-robed dragon knight could no longer hold on, and the battle spear in his hand slipped out of his hand. His bones were almost broken inch by inch, and his magic power was also shaken away. The black-robed dragon knight was imprisoned in midair by Lin Feng. Why is it like this? I was actually defeated by a group of ants. The black-robed dragon knight roared with extreme unwillingness. Even now, he was still unwilling to believe all of this. He didn't want to admit his defeat. However, this was the truth. Do you know why you were defeated? Lin Feng said with an indifferent expression. That's because you were too arrogant. So what if you're strong? No matter how strong you are, you can't resist an army of thousands. After his voice fell, Lin Feng was about to fly out and capture the imprisoned black-robed dragon knight, and then properly interrogate him. Lin Feng had too many questions in his heart, and he wanted to find answers from the black-robed dragon knight. But right at this moment, a terrifying aura permeated the void. After feeling that terrifying aura, Lin Feng couldn't help but feel an extremely oppressive feeling. Lin Feng's pupils violently contracted. Not far away, without knowing when, another black-robed cultivator had appeared. The aura of that black-robed cultivator and the black-robed dragon knight were very similar. Clearly, that black-robed cultivator and the black-robed dragon knight came from the same race. Moreover, that cultivator's aura was much stronger than the black-robed dragon knight's. Lin Feng couldn't help but have an extremely strange thought in his mind. In front of the black-robed dragon knight, an ordinary god realm cultivator might not even be an ant. In front of the black-robed cultivator who had just appeared, the black-robed dragon knight might not even be an ant. This feeling was so strong. Lin Feng didn't even know why he had such a feeling. However, If this feeling was real, just what level was this black-robed cultivator at? It was simply unimaginable. Lord, 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 save me. Seeing the black-robed cultivator, the black-robed dragon knight acted as though he had seen his savior. He could not stop himself from begging loudly. Ha 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 ha, Lord Tidao, Honorable Lord, has appeared. You lowly bastards will soon go to hell. Then, Dragon Knight shouted. His expression was ferocious. The appearance of Lord Tidao made him extremely certain that Lin Feng and the others would die without a burial place. This confidence came from the fact that the black-robed Dragon Knight knew how terrifying Lord Tidao was. This existence's lifespan was simply too long. It was so long that no one knew how many vicissitudes of life he had experienced. Lord Tidao, isn't this person one of the 4 powerhouses who besieged my ancestor? Lin Qi? He's actually still alive. Lin Feng's face was filled with disbelief when he heard the words, Lord Tidao. Lin Qi's injuries were caused by the joint attack of Tidao's supremacy, Yuantian supremacy, Taichu supremacy, and Nirvana supremacy. Therefore, Lin Feng had always remembered the names of these 4 supremes. Now, Lin Feng actually met the legendary Lord Tidao. Yuan Daoming, you disappoint me, Lord Tidao said as he looked at the black-robed Dragon Knight. After hearing Lord Tidao's words, the black-robed Dragon Knight's arrogant laughter suddenly stopped. A terrified expression appeared on his face. He hurriedly said, Lord, please spare my life. Lord, please spare my life. Please give this subordinate another chance for the sake of my grandfather. Lord Tidao's expression was indifferent. Finally, he nodded and said, All right, I'll give you one last chance on account of your grandfather. The black-robed Dragon Knight could finally heave a sigh of relief. He knew Lord Tidao's character too well and knew how ruthless this person was. In the past, the black-robed Dragon Knight had even seen Lord Tidao destroy a great world. The 300 million cultivators in that great world had been devoured by Lord Tidao. The only reason Lord Tidao had come out was because he was too bored. With such a long lifespan, an endless life, he had to find some fun. Lord Tidao looked at Lin Feng and said, So, I've lost interest in you. That's why I didn't object when Yuan Daoming proposed to kill you. Lin Feng was shocked. Had Lord Tidao been eyeing him for a long time? To think that he had been targeted by such a terrifying existence. He had no idea before this. How terrifying would it be to be targeted by such a terrifying existence? Just the thought of it made him pale with fright. Who exactly are you? Lin Feng licked his lips and said in a gloomy voice, I'm someone you can only look up to. Now, I'm lacking a servant. You can be my servant. Lord Tidao said indifferently, You're lucky to be my servant. Hurry up and kneel down to thank me. Humph, are you daydreaming? Who do you think you are? How dare you ask me to be your servant? Lin Feng said gloomily, You don't have the strength of your ancestors, but your temper is very similar to them. Do you know that many sovereign clans refused to be my servant and were killed by me in the end? Those people are your ancestors, aren't they? What? Do you want to follow in their footsteps? Tidao, Honorable Lord, said indifferently, Impossible. Lin Feng shouted. He found it hard to believe Lord Tidao's words. The sovereign clans, such a powerful clan. How could the ancestors of the sovereign clans be killed so easily? Ha ha ha. In my eyes, the sovereign clans are just lowly bloodlines. What's so impossible about that? The Grand Dao Honorable Lord couldn't help but laugh wildly. Die! Shouted Lin Feng furiously. He released a great deployment spell and attacked the Tai Dao Zun master, but all the attacks broke apart when they were 10 meters away from the Tai Dao Zun master. Chapter 3194. You. Lin Feng looked at Tai Dao's supremacy in shock. He knew that Tai Dao's supremacy was extremely terrifying. However, no matter how terrifying he was, he shouldn't be able to ignore the attack of the ultimate hit formation, right? The ultimate hit formation was not only supported by many powerful Dharma treasures, but also by 20 million cultivators. However, it was easily resolved by the Grand Tao Honorable Lord. It was truly inconceivable. However, all of this was happening right in front of his eyes. Even if he didn't believe it, he had to believe that it was real. It's useless. You are just ants. Even if there are 10,000 or 100,000 times more of you, you won't be able to hurt me. Tai Dao's supremacy said indifferently. He wasn't boasting. He really had the ability to do so. The Grand Tao supremacy was so powerful that anyone who saw him could not help but be aghast. You don't want to be my slave. However, I want you to be my slave. I like to control other people's lives. Now, I like to keep someone who hates me by my side. It's a pleasure to see that person's face is filled with hatred, but helpless against me. Tai Dao's supremacy looked at Lin Feng, and his lips curled into a sinister smile. He was an extremely perverted person. He had a perverted personality. He was mentally twisted. Boom! Tai Dao's supremacy attacked. He grabbed Lin Feng with his big hand and wanted to grab Lin Feng. At that moment, Lin Feng felt that the world had stopped and everyone around him seemed to have disappeared. Only he and Tai Dao's supremacy were left. Now, Tai Dao's supremacy was forcing him to become a slave. Tai Dao's supremacy was so powerful that he couldn't resist. Lin Feng wanted to resist, but he couldn't. He wanted to tear Tai Dao's supremacy into pieces. However, he couldn't do it. At that moment, an old figure appeared in front of Lin Feng. Master Tortoise. Master Tortoise appeared. Master Tortoise attacked. Bang! He and Tai Dao's supremacy exchanged blows. The sound was deafening. Then, both of them couldn't help but take a few steps back. Cough, cough, cough. Lord Tortoise couldn't help but cough violently. Lord Tortoise had always been injured, and his injuries had yet to fully recover. Lin Feng had originally suspected that the person who injured Lord Tortoise was the Grand Tao supremacy, but from the looks of it, that shouldn't be the case. Some things, it's better not to cross the line. Lord Tortoise looked at Tai Dao Honorable Lord. Someone who is struggling at death's door dares to say such words in front of me? Tai Dao Honorable Lord glanced at Lord Tortoise indifferently. He was very arrogant and looked down on Lord Tortoise. I've heard of your clan's character before. It's just as the rumors say. Lord Tortoise's expression was indifferent. You've heard of it. The Grand Tao Honorable Lord looked at Lord Turtle in astonishment. It seemed inconceivable that Lord Tortoise knew about their clan. There's nothing strange about that. Master Tortoise's voice was still cold. The black tortoise is rarely seen. Its origin is SOSO, but it's barely edible. Tai Dao Reverend said indifferently, treating Master Turtle as food. Boom! Tai Dao Reverend struck out at Lord Tortoise with his palm. A dark glow appeared on Tai Dao Reverend's palm. That dark glow circled around Tai Dao Reverend's palm. That dark glow was incomparably terrifying. Just its aura alone was enough to cause the entire void to collapse. Tai Dao Reverend struck out at Lord Tortoise with his palm. Lord Tortoise made his move and threw out a punch. His fist was surrounded by holy light. Bam! Both parties collided violently. With the collision as the center, The void around them began to crack. The attacks of these two were simply too powerful. Endless black gas surged out of the Grand Tao Supremacy's body and turned into ferocious ghosts. They pounced at Lord Tortoise. Lord Tortoise placed his palms together. Above him, an ancient Buddha appeared. Millions of Buddhist lights surged out from the ancient Buddha's body. The hundreds of millions of Buddhist lights directly dispersed the evil spirits. Go! Lord Tortoise took the initiative to strike. He took a step forward and shouted. When Lord Tortoise's voice fell, a mysterious energy descended from the 9 heavens. It then surged into Lord Tortoise's body. That mysterious energy seemed to be the power of the past. The power of the past was a type of power of time. Go! In the next moment, Lord Tortoise took a second step. He continued to shout. After he finished speaking, Yi Zichen's voice fell. The second type of energy was formed. This time, it seemed to be another type of energy. However, this energy was also the energy of time. This energy seemed to be the power of the present. Future! Lord Tortoise took a third step and shouted for the third time. The third type of power of time descended from the heavens. This time, Lord Tortoise condensed the power of the future. Go! Go! Future! This was an unprecedented mystic skill. Lin Feng was extremely surprised. He had not expected Lord Tortoise to know this mystic skill. Lin Feng had obtained this mystic skill a long time ago. The Tao contained within it was too profound. Even though Lin Feng had mastered the great reincarnation technique and had a certain understanding of the Tao of the past and Tao of the future, however, he was still unable to comprehend the past, present, and future mystic skill. Now that Lord Tortoise had used this mystic skill, the 3 different types of energy fused together and lingered around Lord Tortoise's fist. Then Lord Tortoise threw a punch at Tai Tao Honorable Lord. Tai Tao Honorable Lord's expression changed slightly in the face of Lord Tortoise's punch. Tai Tao Honorable Lord had not taken Lord Tortoise seriously before. However, after the real fight, he realized how terrifying Lord Tortoise was. Tai Tao Infinite, attack of the 1,000 army. Facing the attack of Lord Tortoise's past, present, and future mystic skill, Tai Tao Honorable Lord attacked. The mystic skill he condensed evolved into a mysterious world. In that world, war drums were beating. An endless army rushed out from that world and attacked Lord Tortoise. It was like an army that was about to destroy the world. However, in the face of Lord Tortoise's mystic skill, Tai Tao Honorable Lord's attack was instantly broken. Then, Lord Tortoise's terrifying punch. It landed directly on Tai Tao Honorable Lord's body. Tai Tao Honorable Lord was sent flying by Lord Tortoise's terrifying punch. Cough, cough, cough. Tai Tao Honorable Lord coughed violently. His face was flushed red, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. However, Tai Tao Honorable Lord swallowed back the blood that he almost spat out. This is absolutely impossible. Black Robe Dragon Knight roared in disbelief. Tai Tao Honorable Lord, who was almost invincible in all the worlds, was actually injured by someone. Chapter 3195. Lord Tortoise's battle prowess was too shocking. Lin Feng was dumbfounded. Tai Tao Supremacy was such a powerful figure. However, he was injured by Lord Tortoise. Lord Tortoise. His injuries were very serious. In other words, Lord Tortoise was still far from his peak battle prowess. Even so, Lord Tortoise still managed to injure Tai Tao Supremacy. This was enough to explain a lot of things. The Grand Tao Honorable Lord was the kind of existence that could move unhindered in the universe. However, Lord Tortoise still managed to injure Tai Tao Supremacy despite his injuries. How strong was Lord Tortoise? the existence that had injured Lord Tortoise previously. How strong was he? Lin Feng was beginning to understand why Lord Tortoise was unwilling to tell him about the existence that had injured him. Those existences, they were too terrifying. There was no benefit for him to come into contact with those existences now. You actually have such a cultivation level. Tai Dao's supremacy looked at Lord Tortoise with a gloomy expression. He clenched his fists tightly. He was furious. He couldn't accept what was happening in front of him. You're much weaker than I thought. It seems that the rumor is true. For people of your race, your strength will decline greatly at the end of the era. Then, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, Lord Tortoise said with narrowed eyes. Apparently, Lord Tortoise knew what race Tai Dao's supremacy belonged to. However, Lord Tortoise didn't reveal Tai Dao's supremacy's race. This showed that Lord Tortoise was afraid. Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. Could there be an existence that was stronger than Tai Dao's supremacy in his race? Tai Dao's supremacy said indifferently, "You know quite a lot of things. However, you only know a small part of it. My race has long found a way to restrain it. My battle prowess hasn't declined greatly. Instead, I sealed 90% of my strength." What? Sealed 90% of your strength? Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. Was Tai Dao's supremacy telling the truth? Or was he just trying to confuse Lord Tortoise? If it was true, even after sealing 90% of his strength, he still possessed such terrifying combat strength. If he didn't seal himself, how strong would he be? Master Tortoise didn't say anything. He just looked at Tai Dao, Honorable Lord, quietly. Tai Dao Reverend's eyes flickered with cold light. He seemed to want to break the seal, but he was still hesitating. But at this moment, Lin Feng attacked the black-robed Dragon Knight. The black-robed Dragon Knight's injuries were extremely serious. His battle prowess had dropped drastically, and it was far from being comparable to before. If Tai Dao, Honorable Lord, hadn't saved him, he would have died. The black-robed Dragon Knight had already been killed by him. Now, the Grand Dao, Honorable Lord, was held back by Master Tortoise. Lin Feng wanted to take this opportunity to kill the black-robed Dragon Knight. If he missed this opportunity, there might not be such a good opportunity to kill the black-robed Dragon Knight again. Boom, boom, boom. The absolute kill formation was not activated, and all kinds of terrifying attacks bombarded the black-robed Dragon Knight. The black-robed Dragon Knight was no match for the absolute kill array's attack, and was sent flying. His face became even paler. "Lord, save me!" The black-robed Dragon Knight screamed in horror. At this moment, he really felt the aura of death enveloping his entire body. The black-robed Dragon Knight was extremely frightened. He didn't want to die. If he could live. In this world, no one wanted to die. The black-robed Dragon Knight was like this. He wanted to live. So he asked Tai Dao, Honorable Lord, for help. "Junior, you're courting death." Tai Dao, Honorable Lord, couldn't help but roar. He grabbed the black-robed Dragon Knight with his big hand, wanting to save him. But Master Tortoise made his move. He slapped his palm towards Tai Dao, Honorable Lord. Tai Dao, Honorable Lord, saw Master Tortoise making his move and naturally didn't dare to be careless. He quickly blocked Master Tortoise's attack. He couldn't care less about the black-robed Dragon Knight. And at this moment, all kinds of powerful attacks bombarded the black-robed Dragon Knight. "I'm not willing," the black-robed Dragon Knight let out one last sound. Then his body exploded, and his body and soul were destroyed. The source of the black-robed Dragon Knight was extremely powerful. Lin Feng hurriedly kept the source of the black-robed Dragon Knight. He collected the source of the black-robed Dragon Knight, the source of the Black Dragon, and the source of the black-robed dragon knight. The source of the three wasn't very useful to Lin Feng. However, the source of the black dragon and the source of the black-robed dragon knight were of great use to Lin Feng's cultivation. Therefore, Lin Feng was extremely excited after collecting the source of the black dragon and the black-robed dragon knight. Tai Dao Honorable Lord was furious when he saw the black-robed dragon knight being killed. The black-robed dragon knight was someone he wanted to protect, but Lin Feng killed the black-robed dragon knight. Wasn't this a slap to his face? Therefore, Tai Dao Honorable Lord rushed towards Lin Feng, as if he wanted to kill Lin Feng. Humph! Lord Tortoise snorted and intercepted Tai Dao Honorable Lord. Both sides clashed again, and Tai Dao Honorable Lord was forced back by Lord Tortoise once again. His expression was extremely ugly. Perhaps it had been a long time since he felt so aggrieved. Very good, very good, very good. Lord Tortoise, I will remember you. And Lin Feng, I won't kill you directly. Instead, I'll play with you slowly. Only then will it be interesting. Tai Dao Honorable Lord looked coldly at Lin Feng and Lord Tortoise before tearing open the void and leaving. Lord Tortoise also disappeared and returned to the barren mountain. Clean up the battlefield. Lin Feng said as he rushed towards the barren mountain. Lord Tortoise was injured. Therefore, Lin Feng was worried that Lord Tortoise would suffer more injuries if he attacked now. After returning, Lin Feng discovered that Lord Tortoise was resting on a rocking chair. Master, are you feeling well? Lin Feng asked worriedly. Lord Tortoise smiled and said, Don't worry, Master is fine. Despite Lord Tortoise's words, how could Lin Feng not be worried? Not long after, Du Zhu and the heretic sovereign sage returned. Poison Ancestor brought over a black armor for black knights and said, Young master, this set of black armor is extraordinary. Oh, what's so extraordinary about it? Lin Feng asked. This set of armor has the ability to repair itself. Du Zhu said. What? It's actually so magical. Lin Feng was shocked when he heard Du Zhu's words. He had never heard of armor that could repair itself. Lin Feng quickly took the set of armor and studied it carefully. He discovered that this set of armor was very special. It was fused with some materials that he had never seen before. Lin Feng took out the stone sword and tore the armor apart. Chapter 30, 196. Seeing this, Lin Feng was extremely shocked. He even felt that it was a little unbelievable. What kind of armor was this? It was actually so magical. This kind of armor was extremely precious. Its value was simply unimaginable. Other than self-recovery, we also discovered some other magical properties of this armor. Evil Dominator Saint said, What other magical properties are there? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. Evil Dominator Saint said, When more than 100 cultivators wear this armor, they seem to be able to form a special connection. Their auras and strength will be connected together. Even the time and movements of their attacks will be synchronized. So extraordinary, Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. He suddenly thought of the invincible black armored knights. Previously, the black armored knights had almost wiped out the hidden Tiandao sect. This showed how terrifying the black armored knights were. Now Lin Feng finally understood why the black armored knights were so powerful. The reason why the black armored knights were so powerful was because of the black armor. When 1,000 cultivators wore the black armor, their magic power would be connected together. When one person attacked, in truth, it was equivalent to the combined attack of 1,000 cultivators. How terrifying would the attack be when 1,000 cultivators' magic power were stacked together? The black armored knights previously had 1,000 people. When 1,000 of them attacked together, Each person's attack was equivalent to 1,000 cultivators' magic power stacked together. 1,000 people working together. Naturally, the attack was incomparably powerful. The defense of the black armor was also very strong. When the opponent's attack hit the black armor would dissolve the attack. If the black armor was heavily damaged, it would be repaired very quickly. Therefore, those cultivators wearing the black armor, basically, they rarely died. This was the reason why the black armored knights were so powerful. What a powerful armor! Pass down the order. Choose 1,000 experts from the Reincarnation Immortal Sect and the Dragon Sex Cultivator Army to form the new Black Armored Knights. Lin Feng couldn't help but say, the Black Armored Knights formed by Tai Dao Honorable Lord had left a deep impression on Lin Feng. Now, Lin Feng planned to form a Black Armored Knights of his own. The most important thing about the Black Armored Knights was their black armor. As long as one could obtain these black armors, anyone would be able to form a huge Black Armored Knight regiment. Yes, young master. Du Zhu and the evil Dominator Saint quickly left after receiving their orders. As for Lin Feng, he took out the essence of the 3 original commanders of the Black Armored Knights, handing them to Shangguan Fei, and the others. Lin Feng had no use for these sources. However, Lin Feng's women could use it. Chaos was coming, and Lin Feng naturally wanted Shangguan Fei, and the others to quickly raise their cultivation levels. When the world was in chaos, that way he would be able to protect himself. At the other side, Du Zhu and the evil Dominator Saint chose 3,000 cultivators. These 3,000 cultivators were the elites of the Reincarnation Immortal Sect and the Dragon Gate. Every one. At the very least, they were at the giant god realm. In recent years, the world of the 9 prefectures had undergone great changes. So many people were constantly making breakthroughs. There were also many people in the Reincarnation Immortal Sect and the Dragon Gate who had broken through to a higher realm. Even the number of Boundary Emperor realm cultivators was not small. Didn't I ask the 2 of you to choose a 1,000-man army? Do you still need me to do this personally? Lin Feng could not help but look at Du Zhu and the evil Dominator Saint speechlessly. Du Zhu said, "Young master, the last 3,000 people are the elites of the elites, and no one would be happy to be kicked out. That's why we wanted to ask young master to make the decision." In the end, Lin Feng chose 998 people out of the 3,000 people because Lin Feng felt that the newly formed Black Armored Knights could not be without a powerful figure. Lin Feng let Du Zhu and the evil Dominator Saint temporarily take charge of the Black Armored Knights. Du Zhu and the evil Dominator Saint were undisciplined, so they were not very willing. However, now that Lin Feng did not have a good candidate, they had no choice but to temporarily take charge of the Black Armored Knights. Lin Feng also told the 2 of them that he would replace them as soon as he found a suitable candidate. After the Black Armored Knights were formed, Lin Feng went into seclusion. Lin Feng refined the origin of the Black Dragon and the Black-Robed Dragon Knight. This time, Lin Feng could be said to have benefited greatly. His cultivation level rose from the 70th step of the Boundary Emperor to the 82nd step of the Stone Steps. The level of his soul also rose from the Boundary Emperor realm of the 80th Stone Step to the Boundary Emperor realm of the 88th Stone Step. Lin Feng was astonished to see such an increase in strength. The increase of the Black Dragon's origin was relatively small. The reason why his cultivation rose so much was mainly because of the Black-Robed Dragon Knight's origin. The Black-Robed Dragon Knight's origin is really powerful. Lin Feng could not help but mutter. After coming out of seclusion, intense vibrations could be felt from the ghost rearing jar. "Master, we're about to break through. The two ghost emperors transmitted their voices to Lin Feng. Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. If the two ghost emperors were to break through, they would be in the ghost emperor realm. Previously, Lin Feng allowed the two ghost emperors to devour the Yin spirit formed by the resentment of the ancient black-robed cultivator. It seemed like the two ghost emperors had benefited greatly. Otherwise, they would not have broken through. Great. I'll bring you to break through now, Lin Feng replied. Then he left the Reincarnation Immortal sect and came to the primitive forest outside the Reincarnation Immortal sect. Then he released the two ghost emperors from the ghost rearing jar. The light of calamity flashed between the eyebrows of the two ghost emperors. This would only happen when a cultivator was on the verge of a breakthrough. When the two ghost emperors were released, the light of calamity shot up into the sky from their eyebrows. Then, the power of lightning began to gather in the 9 heavens. The endless power of thunder was condensed and formed. Lightning tribulations were formed. Boom, boom, boom. Streaks of terrifying lightning tribulations came crashing down. The two ghost emperors were 100 miles apart. They were undergoing their tribulations separately. Lin Feng stood afar and watched the two ghost emperors undergo their tribulations. He was even a little worried that the two ghost emperors would fail their tribulations. After all, the two ghost emperors were different from other living beings. The suppression of the lightning tribulations was too strong for them. However, what made Lin Feng happy was that the two ghost emperors displayed shocking combat strength and extraordinary abilities during their tribulations. They managed to overcome their respective lightning tribulations. In the end, the two ghost emperors succeeded in their tribulations. This made Lin Feng extremely happy. Now that the two ghost emperors had succeeded in their tribulations, including Du Zhu and the evil dominator sage. Chapter 3197. Greetings, Master. The two ghost emperors were extremely excited after successfully transcending their tribulations. They quickly bowed to Lin Feng. Originally, the two ghost emperors had no choice but to submit to Lin Feng. But now, the two ghost emperors felt extremely fortunate. After submitting to Lin Feng, their cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. Now, they had even reached the ghost emperor realm. Hence, it was no longer appropriate to call them ghost emperors. They should be called ghost emperors. Good. Since you've both become ghost emperors, I'll bestow each of you a name. I hope that from now on, you'll be reborn. Lin Feng said. Hearing that Lin Feng was going to bestow them a name, the two ghost emperors were extremely happy. Young master, please bestow us a name. The two ghost emperors said respectfully. Lin Feng said, from now on, the two of you will be called Guida and Gui Air. The first ghost emperor, the second ghost emperor. Seeing the two ghost emperors' mouths twitching violently, Lin Feng said with a smile, could it be that you like these two names so much that your faces are twitching? After hearing Lin Feng's words, the two ghost emperors had the urge to slap Lin Feng to death. Only ghosts would like these two names. Of course, the two ghost emperors did not dare to act on their thoughts. Lin Feng wanted to kill them. In the blink of an eye, it would be done. Thank you, Master, for bestowing us a name, the two ghost emperors quickly said. Although they did not like these two names, they still had to pretend to be very happy. Since Gui Da and Gui Air had become ghost emperors, they could take charge of an area on their own. Hence, Lin Feng did not send them into the ghost-raising jar again. He returned to the Reincarnation Immortal sect with the two ghost emperors. Then, he had Du Zhu and the heretic sovereign saint gather the newly formed black armored knights. Lin Feng looked at Du Zhu and the evil dominator saint and said, since the two of you don't like to manage the black armored knights, then hand over the authority to Gui Da and Gui Air. Hee, that's great. We still prefer to follow young master and be free. Du Zhu grinned. Lin Feng removed Du Zhu, an evil dominator saint, from their positions, and officially appointed Gui Da and Gui Er as the Black Armored Knights commander and vice commander, respectively. In the future, he would be in charge of everything related to the Black Armored Knights. How strong are the attacks of the Black Armored Knights? Let me see, Lin Feng said. Yes, Gui Da and Gui Er replied. They were now also wearing black armor. Then he held a spear in his hand. He joined forces with the rest of the Black Armored Knights. 1,000-man army. The spear in his hand trembled slightly. In an instant, the void shattered. What a powerful attack. Just a light attack. And it's already at the level of an immortal emperor. Moreover, it's at least at the immortal emperor realm. Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. Such a powerful attack. Even if it was him, it would be very difficult to hit. However, the Black Armored Knights did it. Such a powerful army would definitely be able to play a huge role in the chaos. And Lin Feng guessed that even in the Tai Dao High Lord's clan, there weren't many forces like the Black Armored Knights, because those black armors were simply too extraordinary. It wasn't that the Tai Dao High Lord didn't want to take these black armors away before he left, but he was afraid of Lord Turtle's strength. Thus, he only wanted to leave quickly and didn't have much thought to collect those black armors. Lin Feng was extremely satisfied with the Black Armored Knights' battle strength. Lin Feng planned to find some combination attack techniques for the Black Armored Knights to cultivate. The Black Armored Knights were already strong enough. If they could cultivate a combination attack technique, then the Black Armored Knights would be able to display an even stronger battle strength. In front of the barren mountain, Lin Feng brewed tea. The fragrance of tea filled the air. Lin Feng poured a cup and handed it to Lord Turtle, who was sitting opposite him. Lord Turtle took a sip. Then he put down the teacup. Lin Feng said, "Master, your disciple has a few things that I would like to consult you about." "Is it about that race?" Lord Turtle couldn't help but ask. He was obviously referring to the Tai Dao High Lord's clan. "That's right. Master, please tell me the origin of this clan." Lin Feng said. Lin Feng's killing intent towards the Tai Dao High Lord's clan was overwhelming. He couldn't wait to eradicate this clan completely. Lord Turtle said, "This clan is a living being that transcends eras." After hearing Lord Turtle's words, Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. Previously, he had suspected that the Tai Dao High Lord's clan was a living being that transcended eras. Previously, Lin Feng had come into contact with living beings that transcended eras, which were the living beings in the Black Fog. But the Black Fog clan, they should be a relatively weak race among the living beings that transcended eras. Due to being suppressed by the laws of heaven and earth, the Black Fog clan's strength had declined greatly after transcending eras. Their combat strength had declined greatly, and they couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. Is that why this clan is so high and mighty? Lin Feng's eyes flashed with killing intent. Some clans. That's it. They're hated, but they're too strong. So what if many people hate them? They can't harm them at all. Lord Turtle said, "I've come into contact with the Black Fog clan before. They're also a race that transcended eras, but their strength has declined greatly. However, the Tai Dao High Lord's clan's strength doesn't seem to have declined that much. They're all living beings that transcended eras, so why is there such a difference? Ask Lin Feng." Lin Feng was confused. Lord Turtle said, "Some clans have transcended several eras without being wiped out, so they've naturally found a way to survive. Some clans have only transcended an era, so they're usually the most dangerous. After all, when an era is destroyed, they should have been destroyed along with it, but they've survived. The laws of the next era will suppress them. and as time passes, they'll gradually die in the next era. They won't be able to resolve this crisis unless they find a way to restrain the laws of the next era. Of course, we can't rule out some extremely powerful living beings. Even though they've been suppressed greatly by the laws of an era, they still haven't died, and can even live for another era. Lin Feng asked, "The stone sword should be able to cause great damage to the Tai Dao High Lord's clan, right?" Lord Turtle nodded. "That's right. The stone swords can cause great harm to them. The stone swords were created to kill these creatures who have transcended epochs." Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Did Lord Turtle know about the stone sword's origin? Chapter 30, 198. Lord Tortoise knew that Lin Feng had 2 stone swords. So Lin Feng was very interested in the origin of the 36 stone swords. Master Tortoise said indifferently, "Many people say that the 36 stone swords are very likely to be stone swords born from heaven and earth. They specialize in killing creatures that have transcended epochs. Moreover, they are very powerful and can cause great damage to those creatures. But as far as I know, the 36 stone swords have a different origin." "Oh, what origin?" Lin Feng's spirit couldn't help but be slightly shaken. Lord Tortoise knew a lot of things. Now that he was going to talk about the origin of the 36 stone swords, Lin Feng became very excited. The 36 stone swords were very powerful. Their power was boundless. Lin Feng had always wanted to know the origin of the 36 stone swords, but his knowledge was limited. Most of what he knew was hearsay, and there was no way to verify whether it was true or not. Lord Tortoise continued, "Rumor has it that a certain expert found some mysterious stone materials in the Supreme Celestial Court, and then polished them into 36 stone swords." "What? There's such a thing?" Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. His face was full of disbelief. This news was too shocking and unbelievable. The 36 stone swords were actually created by a cultivator. Lin Feng had never thought of this before. Who is this cultivator? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. He was very curious. No one knows who this person is, but my guess is that he should be one of the supreme experts that appeared during this epoch's reincarnation cycle. Lord Tortoise said, an epoch's reincarnation cycle consisted of 3,000 epochs. How long had it been? Who knew how many powerful beings had been born during the 3,000 epochs? The existence that Lord Tortoise was talking about was definitely one of the top existences during the 3,000 epochs. However, with the passage of time, no one could live forever. Perhaps that expert had already turned into ashes, and his soul had returned to the 9 heavens. The 3,000 epochs have come to an end. If this epoch ends, what kind of world will come next? Lin Feng said. Lord Tortoise said, there are 3,000 eras in an era, and there are 3,000 eras in an era of reincarnation. In fact, the general tone of an era of reincarnation will not change. When the reincarnation of an era begins, living beings will appear, and the era of cultivation will begin. As one era after another, the cultivation environment will not change. The only thing that will change is the division of the cultivation system. However, if the samsara of eras ends and a new samsara of eras begins, will there be another samsara of eras like the era of cultivation? That's unknown. Lord Tortoise's words were a little profound, and Lin Feng didn't quite understand. He could not help but ask, Master, even if a new era of reincarnation began, there should still be a new cultivation system, right? Once a new living being appears, what can they do other than cultivate immortality? Master Tortoise said meaningfully, who knows? Perhaps the creatures of that time. Even if they didn't know how to cultivate, they would have many other things to do. Lin Feng could not help but feel that Lord Tortoise's words were very profound. He seemed to want to express something special, but he did not say it directly. Lin Feng could not immediately guess what Lord Tortoise wanted to say. On this day, Lin Feng and Lord Tortoise chatted for a long time about many things. Perhaps it was because Lin Feng had become much stronger, or perhaps Lord Tortoise had sensed some things that were about to happen in the future. So this time, Lord Tortoise and Lin Feng talked about many forbidden things. Many of these things shocked Lin Feng greatly. 3 days later, 3 cultivators arrived at the reincarnation immortal sect. They were an old man, a middle-aged man, and a young man. The young man was Yuan from the Undying clan. Lin Feng had seen this person before. He had also participated in the Prodigy ranking tournament. However, he had lost to Bai Wanyu in the end. Yuan was very powerful, but he was only a side branch disciple of the Undying clan. The direct descendants of the Undying clan had never been born. The middle-aged cultivator was called Yuan Dongchen. He was a great emperor-level expert. However, his cultivation base was only at the god-emperor level. His realm wasn't particularly high. The old man was called Yuan Shan. He was an immortal emperor expert with a deep and powerful aura. The 3 of them had come to see Lin Feng. Lin Feng sneered. "What are you doing here at the reincarnation immortal sect? Are you here to die?" His relationship with the Undying clan had always been tense. Lin Feng suspected that his clansmen had been captured by the Undying clan. Therefore, Lin Feng had always planned to pay a visit to the Undying clan. However, he did not expect that the Undying clan would take the initiative to come to him. "Lin Gongzi, it's better to squash enmity than to keep it alive. To put it bluntly, our previous enmity is not that great. Why don't we just let it go?" Yuan Shan cupped his fists and said. Lin Feng could not help but frown. Yuan Shan had come on behalf of the Undying clan. What was he trying to do? The Undying clan had taken the initiative to seek reconciliation with him? Lin Feng found it inconceivable. Lin Feng did not have a good impression of the Undying clan. Lin Feng's ancestors were also from the Undying clan. However, since the generation of Lin Qi's ancestor, their bloodline had completely broken away from the Undying clan. They no longer had anything to do with each other. Lin Feng said indifferently, "One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions." Yuan Shan was not angry at Lin Feng's words. He continued, "Lin Gongzi, this old man has come with sincerity. Moreover, we might have the same ancestor. With this connection, Lin Gongzi should be able to let down his guard, right?" Lin Feng could not help but sneer. Mortals go through 3 generations and their bloodlines become thin. After 10 generations, they no longer have any blood relations. Cultivators go through 30 generations and their bloodlines become thin. After 100 generations, they no longer have any blood relations. From the time our ancestor left the Undying clan until now, let alone 100 generations, even 1,000, 3,000, or 10,000 generations would have been passed down. What blood relations are there to speak of? We are already strangers. Yuan Shan said. Because of this, our bloodline has long had nothing to do with the main bloodline. Our bloodline is different from the main bloodline. We only want to survive. If we can't reach the level of power that the main bloodline has, we are just duckweeds floating in the mortal world. Thus, we do not wish to become enemies with Lin Gongzi. Perhaps we can help each other. Help each other. Lin Feng could not help but frown. He was increasingly confused as to why the Undying clan of the 9 prefectures had come looking for him. Of course, we can help each other. For example, Lin Gongzi can go to the Undying clan of the 9 prefectures to awaken his undying bloodline to a higher level. Chapter 3199. Lin Feng's undying bloodline had already undergone a deep awakening, which was the second awakening. The undying bloodline was very powerful, and each awakening would bring a powerful ability. For example, the second awakening of the undying bloodline. Lin Feng had awakened a part of his ancestors' power that had been sleeping in his bloodline. In his dantian, the power had formed a small golden figure. He could communicate with the small golden figure, expending his magic power, and use the small golden figure's power to fight against enemies. His battle strength had greatly increased without any side effects. This was the ability of the second awakening of the undying bloodline. However, Lin Feng rarely used the undying bloodline because it was one of his trump cards. Unless it was the most critical moment, Lin Feng would not easily reveal his trump card. Lin Feng had been looking forward to the third, fourth, or even fifth awakening of the undying bloodline, and even more awakenings. The awakening of the undying bloodline could bring a huge increase to Lin Feng's battle strength. Each time it increased, Lin Feng's cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds. However, the undying bloodline required many special conditions, and the requirements were extremely harsh. Of course, a place like the Undying Clan would definitely have a way to awaken Lin Feng's undying bloodline again. It could even be awakened multiple times. Therefore, Yu Wenshan's suggestion made Lin Feng's heart palpitate. Lin Feng knew that Yu Wenshan's goal was definitely not so simple. He might even be plotting against him. However, Lin Feng still wanted to take the risk and enter the Undying Clan. If Lin Feng could enter the Undying Clan and awaken his undying bloodline several times, it would be heaven-defying. Lin Feng remembered that his father had awakened the undying bloodline 9 times. He did not know when he could be like his father and awaken the undying bloodline 9 times. If the undying bloodline could be awakened 9 times, it would be terrifying. It would be almost immortal and indestructible, even if one's body and soul were destroyed, as long as there was a strand of hair or a drop of blood left. One could even be reborn. This was the shocking ability of the undying bloodline 9 times. What do you want me to do for you? Lin Feng asked straightforwardly. He wanted to probe the Undying Clan. Yu Wenshan said, "Our cooperation is a long-term cooperation. For the time being, there isn't anything that requires Lin Gongzi's help. However, I can foresee that in the future, Lin Gongzi will definitely become an unrivaled expert. At that time, our clan might need Lin Gongzi. I only hope that when that time comes, Lin Gongzi won't stand idly by." Lin Feng couldn't help but ponder. Yu Wenshan's explanation was very reasonable, but Lin Feng felt that the Undying family was not as simple as it seemed. Moreover, the more Lin Feng thought about it, the more he felt that the Undying Clan was scheming against him. This feeling was very intense. Lin Feng said faintly, "Many people want to kill me. Don't tell me your Undying Clan is also planning to do the same? You tricked me into the Undying Clan to deal with me?" "Of course not. We really want to cooperate with Lin Gongzi. Moreover, who doesn't know that Lin Gongzi's master, Lord Turtle, is unfathomably strong? Moreover, Lin Gongzi has good relations with many emperors. Our enmity with Lin Gongzi isn't that deep, so there's no need for us to act against him. If we really want to scheme against Lin Gongzi, we have to consider the powers behind Lin Gongzi, right? Apart from the myriad races, the races from outside, and the top powers that colluded with these 3 powers, who would dare to target Lin Gongzi? Isn't that courting death? What's more, if we were really plotting against young Master Lin, we would have done it in secret. How could we have revealed this matter to the public and let the people behind young Master Lin know that we were the ones behind this? After all, if the experts behind Lin Gongzi really want to make a move, they can even annihilate our Undying Clan. Our undying clan definitely won't joke around with the lives of our clansmen. Yuan Shan couldn't help but say. Lin Feng frowned slightly. He felt that Yuan Shan's words made sense. Even if the undying clan dared to scheme against him, they still had to consider the consequences, right? Of course. Lin Feng was an extremely cautious person. Even though Yuan Shan's explanation was flawless, he still suspected the undying clan's motives. It was better to be safe than sorry. In the world of cultivators, countless cultivators had died due to carelessness. Lin Feng didn't want to become one of them. Lin Gongzi, if you're still worried, you can ask Lord Turtle to accompany you. With Lord Turtle, Lin Gongzi can awaken his bloodline without worry. Yuan Shan continued. Oh, you can ask my master to accompany you? Lin Feng looked at Yuan Shan in surprise. He hadn't expected Yuan Shan to say something like this. Asking Lord Turtle to accompany him? That was a very sincere request. However, Lin Feng couldn't really ask Lord Turtle to accompany him. Lord Turtle's injuries were quite severe. He needed to recuperate. Lord Turtle didn't want to travel with him. This would worsen Lord Turtle's injuries. Lin Feng naturally didn't want to see Lord Turtle's injuries worsen. Of course you can. Not just Lord Turtle, but if Lin Gongzi is still worried, you can bring more people with you. We're only doing this to tell Lin Gongzi that our undying clan has no ill intentions toward Lin Gongzi. Yuan Shan continued. After hearing Yuan Shan's words, even Lin Feng started to believe him. However, he still had his guard up. He couldn't let his guard down just because of Yuan Shan's words. However, Lin Feng really wanted to go to the undying clan to awaken his bloodline. Lord Turtle naturally couldn't bring him there. However, Du Zhu, Evil Sovereign Saint, Gui De, Gui Air, and the Black Armored Knights could be brought to the undying clan. Lin Feng originally wanted to inform the Stone Puppet King, Great Peng King, and the others to go with him, but since Gui De, Gui Air, and the Black Armored Knights were present, he decided to go with them. They would no longer have to trouble the Stone Puppet King, the Rock King, and the others. After all, the Stone Puppet King, Great Peng King, and the others needed time to cultivate. Furthermore, Lin Feng was very confident in himself. After entering the undying clan, even if he met with danger, he would have a way to deal with it. All right, I can believe in your undying family's sincerity. 3 days later, I will follow you to the undying family. Lin Feng said, Lin Gongzi is truly a straightforward person. Then we will wait for 3 days. At that time, Lin Gongzi can return to the undying family with us. Yuan Shan smiled. Lin Feng said, I have another question. What is it? Yuan Shan asked. Were the members of the Lin clan captured by the undying family? Lin Feng looked into Yuan Shan's eyes and couldn't help but ask. Yuan Shan said, We have also heard of this matter. Even the outside world is saying that it was the undying family that captured Lin Gongzi's Lin clan. It's not just the outside world, but even some members of our own clan are discussing this matter. They feel that the higher-ups of the undying family sent people to do this. However, I can clearly tell Lin Gongzi that the Lin clan was not captured by the undying family. It wasn't you? Lin Feng's expression sank slightly. If the undying family hadn't captured the Lin clan, then the undying family wouldn't have been able to do so. Chapter 3200. 3 days later. Lin Feng brought along Du Zhu, Evil Sovereign Saint, Gui De, Gui Air, and the Black Armored Knights. They boarded the Xianyuan Ancient Starry Sky ship and headed towards the undying clan with Yuan Shan and the others. On the way, Yuan Shan used several precious transfer Dao platforms to send the Xianyuan Ancient Starry Sky ship out again and again. This kind of transfer Dao platform was extremely extraordinary. It contained a terrifying power. Of course, this power was not an offensive power, but a space-time teleportation power. An ordinary transfer Dao platform could only send a few cultivators out. However, Yu Wenshan's transfer Dao platform directly enveloped the Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship. Then, the Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship was sent out, which gave people an unimaginable feeling. Moreover, Yu Wenshan's transfer Dao platform had an extraordinary ability. That was, when this transfer Dao platform was activated, it could connect to the nearby space-time wormhole. The transfer Dao platform would send the Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship into the space-time wormhole. After several consecutive transfers, Lin Feng and the others became dizzy from the transfer. After all, the 9 prefectures was so big and had so many space-time wormholes. They had no idea where Yu Wenshan had teleported them to. The reason why Yu Wenshan did this was because he did not want Lin Feng to remember the route to the Undying Clan. Even if the Undying Clan of the 9 prefectures was just a branch that had almost been forgotten by the main branch. However, in the 9 prefectures, the Undying Clan was still a powerful and illustrious force. Very few forces could compete with the Undying Clan. Lin Feng and the others had met Yu Wensheng of the Undying Clan of the 9 prefectures when they were fighting for the sacred object in the Heavenly Dao sect. This person was truly a peerless and terrifying existence. However, Yu Wensheng was not the #1 expert of the Undying Clan. From this, one could see how powerful the Undying Clan of the 9 prefectures was. 3 months later, an ancient ship appeared above the boundless ocean. This ancient ship was the Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship. It was surrounded by distorted space-time and tumbling waves. This was a mysterious place in the sea. However, the exact location was unknown. The Undying Clan had done an extremely good job of keeping it a secret. Lin Feng stood on the bow of the ship and looked at the rippling sea. From time to time, he could see some powerful sea beasts swimming around the Xianyuan starry sky ancient ship. From time to time, the cold eyes of these ferocious beasts would glance at the ancient starship Xianyuan. It seemed like it wanted to attack the Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship, but it seemed to be afraid of something. Therefore, the sea beasts finally swam away obediently. The Undying Clan really knows how to find a place. It seems like this place should be a holy land in the sea, Lin Feng said. Yu Wenshan smiled and asked, "How can you say that it's a holy land? There are many vicious beasts in this sea, and they are all extremely powerful. This means that this place must be rich in resources. However, just having rich resources isn't enough to become a holy land for cultivation. This place must be extremely suitable for cultivation. Only when these 2 conditions are met can so many powerful, vicious beasts be born. That's why I said that this place is a holy land for cultivation in the sea," Lin Feng said. Yu Wenshan was stunned for a moment, but then he smiled and said, "Lin Gongzi, isn't this statement a little too far-fetched? This can't be considered as strong evidence." Lin Feng smiled and said, "If this statement can't be considered as evidence, then we can verify it from another point. Along the way, I've seen 9 islands in the sea. These islands have huge waves around them, and they're very special. They're long and narrow, and they're completely connected to the islands in the sea. They look like spirit veins at the bottom of the sea. Although I haven't gone in to check them out, I'm guessing that there are 9 dragon veins at the bottom of the sea. Otherwise, these phenomena wouldn't have appeared." Yu Wenshan said, "I've long heard that Lin Gongzi is proficient in all kinds of arts. Today, I've truly learned something new. Lin Gongzi is truly knowledgeable." Lin Feng said, "Many thanks for Taoist Yu Wenshan's praise." Lin Feng wasn't modest. because Lin Feng had indeed mastered many mysterious arts and arts. Therefore, there was no need for him to play dumb with Yuan Shan. Moreover, this kind of thing was known to all the cultivators in the outside world. The ancient starship Xianyuan sailed for 10 days on the sea. Then, a huge island appeared in their line of sight. Then, everyone boarded the island. On the island, the roars of beasts and cries of apes could be heard. Powerful birds and beasts could be seen everywhere. Arriving on this island was like arriving on a desolate island. This place was filled with terrifying beasts. It was extremely dangerous. If one was careless, then only death would await the cultivator. The cultivators of the Undying clan didn't live directly on the island. They lived in the depths of the island in a parallel small world that was connected to the island. Lin Feng and the others arrived at the Undying clan's territory. The scenery here was beautiful. The grass was luxuriant, the cicadas were chirping, and the wind was blowing gently. It was truly a beautiful place. Immortal energy lingered everywhere. It also looked like a place where immortals lived. Looking from afar, one could see spirit deer galloping in the mountains and immortal cranes flapping their wings. Swish! A stream of light quickly flew over from the distance and landed. When those streams of light landed, dozens of cultivators appeared. These cultivators included men and women, old and young. They were all experts of the Undying clan. Lin Feng saw Yuan Ji, Yuan Xia, and the others whom he had seen before. Yuan Xia had provoked Lin Feng and was beaten half to death by Lin Feng. Lin Feng also saw Yuan Qing. This existence wielded the Nine Heavens Star River Jade Scepter. Her battle strength was terrifying to the extent that it shocked people. He looked at Lin Feng indifferently with an ugly expression. Because Lin Feng had obtained the sacred object and left with the great Peng King and the others, leaving Yuan Qing, who had schemed for the sacred object for a long time, empty-handed. Yuan Qing flew into a rage at that time. Of course, Yuan Qing was more rational and didn't kill his way to the reincarnation immortal sect like the black-robed Dragon Knight to vent his anger on Lin Feng. Ha ha! This must be little friend Lin. This old man is the Undying clan's grand elder, Yuan Tua. A fat old man looked at Lin Feng with a smile. Although this old man was fat, he had white hair and a youthful face. His skin was white with a tinge of red. It didn't look like the skin a cultivator of his age should have. Instead, it was more like the skin of a 4 or 5-year-old child. Although this old man had a warm expression, Lin Feng could feel the vast magic power in this person's body. To be able to become the grand elder of the Undying clan, this Yuan Tua was naturally not a simple person. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Lin Feng couldn't help but cup his fists. Chapter 32:01. In the living room, everyone sat down. The servant poured tea. Lin Feng took a sip of the tea and felt that it was slightly bitter. After tasting it carefully, there seemed to be a faint, fishy smell. When he tasted it again, there was a fragrance. It bloomed from his lips and tongue. It instantly engulfed his entire body. This feeling, it was incomparably comfortable. Little friend Lin, what do you think of this spirit tea? Yuan Tua asked with a smile. It's really good tea. Lin Feng replied, but he did not say what was good about this tea, because he did not come here to study the way of tea with these people. Little friend Lin, how many times has your undying bloodline awakened? Yuan Tua could not help but ask curiously. In the hall, everyone looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng's name. These cultivators of the Undying clan had long heard of him. They had heard of him countless times. However, many of them had never seen Lin Feng before, so they did not know much about Lin Feng. However, even if they had never seen Lin Feng before. Many cultivators of the Undying clan had heard of Lin Feng. Lin Feng was the same as them. They both had the Undying bloodline. Previously, the Undying clan had sent people to investigate everything about Lin Feng. 2 awakenings. Lin Feng said there was nothing to hide about this. So Lin Feng directly told these people of the Undying clan how many times he had awakened his bloodline. Hearing that Lin Feng's Undying bloodline had only awakened twice, many people of the Undying clan revealed an expression of disbelief. The bloodline had only awakened twice. It was actually so powerful. This caused them to be very shocked and moved. Many people looked at Lin Feng with envy, jealousy, and hatred. Of course, many people of the Undying clan also knew that Lin Feng's rise was not only because of the Undying bloodline. It was rumored that Lin Feng also had the sovereign bloodline. It was just that they did not know if this rumor was true. After all, there was no smoke without fire. Since there was such a rumor in the outside world, perhaps this matter was not groundless. I heard that little friend Lin possesses 2 powerful bloodlines. Is that true? At this time, Yuan Tua asked directly. Many cultivators from the Undying clan were astonished. Obviously, he didn't expect the great elder to ask such a sudden question. Furthermore, this question seemed to be quite sensitive. Lin Feng, on the other hand, openly admitted, "Indeed." Yuan Tua didn't ask what Lin Feng's second bloodline was. Since Lin Feng had admitted that he had a second bloodline, it meant that the rumors about Lin Feng being the heir of a sovereign's race were probably true. 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, and 3 begets all things. Everything in this world is divided into yin and yang, just like the sun and the moon, men and women. This is the division of yin and yang. Yuan Tua slowly said, "Cultivators pay more attention to the division of yin and yang. That's why the yin and yang realms are divided in the early stages of cultivation. There are naturally many reasons for how high one's future achievements will be. However, when the yin and yang realms are laying down the foundation, the most important thing is whether or not your foundation is solid. This is also an extremely important point. Little friend Lin has grasped 2 bloodlines. It seems that you want to refine the 2 bloodlines into the yin and yang cycle realm, right?" Everyone looked at Lin Feng. The potential of a twin bloodline possessor was much greater than that of a pure-blooded bloodline possessor. The pure-blooded bloodline was indeed powerful. It possessed an extremely heaven-defying battle strength. This kind of cultivator was extremely rare. Any faction that had a pure-blooded bloodline disciple, they would all focus on nurturing him. However, the pure-blooded bloodline also had its flaws. The biggest flaw was that the bloodline was single and could not form a yin and yang cycle. And the only thing that could form a yin and yang cycle was the twin bloodline. Many cultivators from the Undying clan had originally thought that their bloodline was powerful, but now that they saw Lin Feng, they felt an indescribable bitterness in their hearts, because the bloodline that they were so proud of seemed so insignificant in front of Lin Feng. There was nothing to show off about. I do want to cultivate the twin bloodline to the yin and yang cycle level. Lin Feng answered very straightforwardly. Both sides chatted for a long time. Lin Feng asked Yuan Tua when he could awaken his bloodline. Yuan Tua told Lin Feng that the bloodline awakening required many precious things, and the Undying clan was currently preparing these things with all their might. Thus, Lin Feng needed to wait for a few days. After chatting for about 4 hours, Yuan Tua ordered people to arrange for Lin Feng's group to stay. Heavenly Tao Sect. Underground. There was an independent space here, and it was originally the resting place of the giant golden snake. Yuan sat cross-legged in this space. The giant golden snake rested in the distance. Zi Yuan's body was surrounded by rays of golden light. Those rays of golden light all entered her body. Zi Yuan's eyes suddenly opened. It was as if there were two ancient worlds floating in her eyes. It was a pair of eyes that had seen the endless vicissitudes of the world. That pair of eyes seemed to possess a soul-stirring power. But very quickly, Zi Yuan's eyes returned to their normal state. It was just that Zi Yuan's eyes were no longer the pitiful eyes of the past. Now, Zi Yuan's eyes were very terrifying. It was a feeling so cold that it made one's heart tremble. Suddenly, the giant golden snake on the ground raised its huge head and looked up. "You're here," Zi Yuan said coldly. Shua. In the next moment, a light flashed. A figure appeared. It was a black-robed cultivator, but it was a female cultivator. This female cultivator was Lord Yuan Tian. Lord Yuan Tian was an expert on the same level as Lord Tai Dao. She was also one of the 4 great experts who besieged Lin Qi with Lord Tai Dao. This woman was very charming, and her body emitted an astonishing charm. Any man who saw this woman would have their soul stolen by her. "I heard that you and that Lin Feng had a period of fate," Lord Yuan Tian said with a smile. Her soul-stirring eyes looked at Zi Yuan with a smile that was not a smile. A pair of jade-like hands were fiddling with her hair. "Do you know what you're saying?" Zi Yuan said with an indifferent expression. Hee. "My good sister, don't be angry. I'm just testing you, because I'm afraid your thoughts will be confused." Lord Yuan Tian said with a smile. "How's the thing I asked you to do?" Zi Yuan asked. A ball of divine light appeared in Lord Yuan Tian's hand. The ball of divine light seemed to wrap around something, but it was unknown what it was. "My good sister, this thing is not easy to find. In order to help you find it, I ran until my legs almost broke." Chapter 32:02. Lin Feng naturally wanted to understand the history of the Undying Clan, since he was in the Undying Clan's territory. Lin Feng did not know much about the history of the Undying Clan. His limited understanding was mostly about the grudges between ancestor Lin Qi and the main bloodline of the Undying Clan. It was rumored that the creation of the Undying World had a lot to do with the Undying Clan. Lin Feng was not sure if this rumor was true, so after arriving at the Undying Clan, Lin Feng suggested to look up some books about the Undying Clan. Although the Undying Clan of the 9 provinces was only a branch, there were many books about the history of the Undying Clan. These books recorded many things about the Undying Clan. Undying Clan, Book Collection Pavilion. Lin Feng flipped through the books one by one. Undying Clan's 7 Saints Record. Lin Feng opened an ancient book and looked at the words written on it. When he saw the contents of the book, he couldn't help but be astonished. The Undying Clan was created by the 7 saints, and these 7 were all extremely terrifying figures. Lin Feng did not know much about the 7 saints of the Undying Clan. His previous understanding of the 7 saints of the Undying Clan was only limited to knowing that the Undying Clan was created by the 7 saints. As for more information, he did not know anything. Who were the 7 saints? What was their cultivation level? What had happened to them? And so on. Everything. No one knew. Right now, the ancient book in his hand seemed to be a book introducing the 7 saints of the Undying Clan, causing Lin Feng to be extremely excited. Could it be that today he would know what kind of existence the 7 saints of the Undying Clan were? Thinking of this, Lin Feng's face could not help but reveal an impatient expression. He continued to flip through the book. It was written on the 2nd page. The Undying Clan was created by the 7 brothers of the Yuan clan. The 7 of them rose in troubled times. Invincible, creating the Undying Clan and evolving the Undying bloodline. From then on, the glory of the Undying Clan began. Then, Lin Feng continued to flip to the back. But the pages at the back were empty. Nothing was written. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. The Undying Clan of the 9 prefectures did not seem to have a detailed introduction of the 7 sages of the Undying Clan. The introduction was only a few dozen words. In fact, there was nothing substantial about it. Too much time has passed. In fact, this branch has already lost contact with the main branch a long time ago. With the upheavals of the continent of the 9 provinces, some ancient books have already been lost. Therefore, many of the books in the library only have a few sentences. There is no substantial content. At this moment, an old voice suddenly sounded from behind. When he heard this voice, Lin Feng couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. He suddenly turned around and saw a withered old man staring at him from not too far away. It was a pair of old and muddy eyes. Those eyes were filled with endless vicissitudes of life. However, Lin Feng did not sense any powerful aura from this old man. Returning to the natural state, this old man had most likely cultivated to this level, such a profound level. It was unknown what realm his cultivation was at. Junior Lin Feng pays his respects to Senior. Lin Feng bowed to the old man. The old man said, "What's Senior? Junior, you're just an old man who has long been forgotten by the world." Although this old man said so, how could Lin Feng think so? Since this old man appeared in the Undying Clan's library, it seemed that he was most likely an elder of the Undying Clan. However, this old man was simply too powerful. So he was definitely not an ordinary elder. This time, when he came to the Undying Clan, Lin Feng had always been on guard in his heart. Thus, after seeing this mysterious old man, Lin Feng felt rather depressed. He naturally did not wish for such a powerful existence to appear in the Undying Clan. However, Lin Feng did not show this depressed feeling in his heart. He acted very normally, with a warm smile on his face. Sunlight, youth, and clean eyes. Lin Feng could not help but ask, "I wonder if Senior knows about the Undying Clan's 7 saints." The old man said, "So what if I know? So what if I don't know?" They have long been a group of historical figures who have turned into dust. Future generations should not live in the glory of their ancestors. Instead, they should think of a way to create their own glory. Lin Feng pondered. This old man's words were too reasonable. Future generations should not live in the glory of their ancestors. That would only make future generations lose their motivation to fight. In the end, there would be many hedonistic disciples. Just think about it. When the young disciples of a force were all hedonistic disciples, what kind of force would that force become? Where would the future lie? You can take a look at this book. The old man handed a book to Lin Feng. Lin Feng opened the book, but found that it was still empty. Not a single word was written. This made Lin Feng feel extremely strange. It was impossible for the old man to give him the wrong book. Since the old man wanted him to read this book, there must be a reason. Lin Feng raised his head to look at the old man, wanting to ask him. However, the old man had already disappeared without a trace. It was as if he had never appeared. It caused Lin Feng to be absent-minded for a moment, as if he was in a dream. However, he was still holding a book in his hand. And this book, it was the book that the old man had given Lin Feng. Who is he? Lin Feng could not help but mutter to himself as he kept the wordless book that the old man had given him. The old man might have some deeper meaning. There might be some secrets hidden in this book. But if he wanted to know these secrets, he needed to carefully explore them. After Lin Feng, left the book collection pavilion, he returned to his residence and carefully studied the wordless book. However, Lin Feng did not find anything special about it. That book was very ordinary and did not seem like a book that hid secrets. However, Lin Feng felt that the more simple the book seemed, the more shocking the hidden secrets would be. He did not give up and planned to continue exploring the secrets of this book in the future. 5 days later, Yuan Tuo finally sent someone to inform Lin Feng. The Undying family had already prepared everything for Lin Feng and would bring Lin Feng to the sacred pond to undergo baptism tomorrow. The next day, Lin Feng brought Du Zhu, evil sovereign saint, Gui Da, Gui Air, and the black armored knights to the sacred pond. Because Lin Feng had always been on guard against the Undying family, he had to be on guard against them. Chapter 32:03. The place of seclusion was a mysterious cave. In the depths of the cave, there was a huge pond. This pond was called the Sacred Pond. The Sacred Pond was filled with a type of liquid that was surrounded by sacred light. This type of liquid should be the sacred liquid used to baptize the bloodline. Yuan Ta said, "This sacred pond is the place where the Undying clan of the 9 continents conducts their bloodline baptism. The sacred pond is densely covered with 36,725 runes, and each rune has its own mysteries. These runes are linked together to form an intricate, large formation. At the same time, a large amount of sacred liquid needs to be poured in. This sacred liquid is very precious, and it is made from many rare heavenly treasures. Thus, even in the Undying clan, not everyone has the qualifications to undergo the bloodline baptism. Only those disciples with outstanding talents have the opportunity to undergo the bloodline baptism." Lin Feng smiled and said, "Thank you, great elder, for preparing everything for me. I will remember it in my heart." Yuan Ta smiled and said, "Ha ha ha, Lin Gongzi, you don't have to be so polite. We are now cooperating with each other and mutually benefiting each other. Everything this old man has done is what I should do. This old man will not continue to disturb young master's bloodline baptism. When young master comes out of seclusion, I will definitely hold a celebration feast for young master to celebrate young master's success in the bloodline baptism." Lin Feng and Yuan Ta exchanged a few more words. Yuan Ta did not continue to stay and led the Undying clan out. Only Lin Feng's people were left in the cave. Du Zhu said, "This world, one must always be on guard against others. Moreover, this Yuan Ta does not look like a good person." Lin Feng could not help but smile. Just by looking at his appearance, one could not tell if Yuan Ta was a good person or a bad person. The reason why Du Zhu described Yuan Ta like this was because he added his own subjective assumptions. That was why he said that Yuan Ta did not look like a good person. However, Du Zhu was right about one thing. One must always be on guard against others. No matter where one was, one must always be on guard. Or else, if one was plotted against and died, one might not even know how one died. Lin Feng looked at the Saint Pond. The holy liquid spirit chi in the holy pond was very abundant, so he directly jumped into the holy pond. When Lin Feng entered the Saint Pond, the immortal bloodline in Lin Feng's body started to circulate on its own. A powerful force shook the void. The immortal bloodline awakened on its own. The runes on the sacred pond seemed to have sensed Lin Feng's undying bloodline. The densely packed runes came to life at this moment. One rune after another emitted a powerful energy that flowed into the holy liquid. It merged with the holy liquid around Lin Feng. The holy liquid actually started to revolve on its own. A vortex was formed. Waves of saint power continued to flow into Lin Feng's body. The energy that entered Lin Feng's body was completely absorbed by Lin Feng's body. Then, that energy fused with Lin Feng's undying bloodline. After the undying bloodline merged with that mysterious energy, it began to undergo some special changes. This change caused the undying bloodline to evolve to a higher level. This was the bloodline baptism. With each bloodline baptism, the cultivator's bloodline would become more powerful, and there was a high probability of awakening some memories in the bloodline. These memories were all-encompassing: magical powers, some scattered memories, formations, and so on. Everything could appear in these memories. Therefore, these memories were extremely precious. Lin Feng's third bloodline baptism was carried out in an orderly manner. The bloodline awakening was too crucial, and it was also extremely important for cultivators. After about 3 days, Lin Feng's third bloodline awakening was finally completed. After the third bloodline awakening, runes appeared in Lin Feng's undying bloodline. Those were bloodline runes. Each bloodline rune contained unimaginably terrifying power. Lin Feng only needed to communicate with those runes with his mind. Those runes could display almost heaven-defying combat power. Feeling the terrifying power contained in those runes, Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. The power contained in those runes made him feel extremely shocked. Lin Feng felt that if he mobilized the power contained in those runes, his combat power would instantly soar to an extremely terrifying level. What shocked Lin Feng the most was that after the third bloodline awakening, there was still a lot of sacred liquid in the sacred pool. So the bloodline awakening was not over. Lin Feng continued to absorb the astonishing energy, and a large amount of energy poured into his body. The energy constantly fused with his body. This made Lin Feng very surprised. Could it be that his bloodline was going to undergo a fourth bloodline awakening? If he could awaken his bloodline twice at once, that would be a great opportunity, because every time his bloodline awakened, Lin Feng's combat power would be greatly improved, and his realm would also be improved. Just after Lin Feng's third bloodline awakening, his realm rose from the previous quasi-emperor realm of the 82nd stone, step to the 85th stone, step of the quasi-emperor realm of the 85th stone, step of the stone step. To rise 3 levels at once, Lin Feng, who had accumulated too much power, it was very difficult to increase his cultivation level. It could be said that it was a huge improvement. Lin Feng was refining the sacred liquid in the sacred pool with all his strength. At this time, the runes in the sacred pool underwent a strange change. Those runes, which were surrounded by sacred light, became surrounded by blood-red light. Those runes instantly seemed to have turned into blood-red runes, which was very strange. No one knew what happened to cause those runes to undergo such a shocking change. Then, blood-red energy pervaded the air. Du Zhu, the evil sovereign saint, Gui de, Gui Air, and the black armored knights who were originally guarding Lin Feng after absorbing the blood-red energy. They were all frozen in place, unable to move. Not good. Lin Feng, who was in the middle of cultivation, also noticed the strange change in the sacred pool. He opened his eyes and saw the surrounding blood-red energy. His face suddenly changed. Lin Feng had been guarding against the Undying Clan's scheme, so he brought Du Zhu, the evil sovereign saint Gui de Gui Air, and the black armored knights to guard him. But he did not expect that he still could not avoid the Undying Clan's scheme. It was not because Lin Feng was not careful enough. It was because the Undying Clan's scheme against Lin Feng was too brilliant. Lin Feng wanted to rush out of the sacred pool, but at this time, the blood-red energy condensed into a huge blood-red cobra. Chapter 3204. What the hell is this? Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. He swung his fist at the blood-red cobra. Swoosh! At this moment, the blood-red cobra turned into a blood-red light and instantly drilled into Lin Feng's mind. Where's the soul? Where's the soul? The blood-red cobra let out a low roar as it searched for Lin Feng's soul. Soon, it found Lin Feng's soul. "I'm going to eat you. I'm going to eat you." The blood-red cobra let out a low and sinister roar. "What kind of existence are you?" Lin Feng's soul asked as it fled. "Keek keek." The cobra suddenly let out a sinister laugh. Hearing the laughter, Lin Feng couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. The blood-red cobra said, "You're Lin Feng, right? I know you. Your bloodline is very powerful. Your soul is very delicious. I can't wait to taste it." This guy said so much but didn't answer his question. Lin Feng's soul was too lazy to ask any more questions. It quickly flew into the depths of his mind. Not long after, Lin Feng's natal treasure, the primal chaos ancient lamp, flew out from the depths of his mind. Lin Feng's soul entered the primal chaos ancient lamp. The primal chaos ancient lamp, a flame that could burn billions of lives. The primal chaos ancient lamp shook slightly. The five-colored flame of the primal chaos ancient lamp flew out. Next, in Lin Feng's mind, the flame burned the sky. This five-colored flame was formed by the fusion of the five heavenly flames of Lin Feng. The power of the primal chaos ancient lamp was related to three factors. The first factor was the level of the primal chaos ancient lamp. The second factor was the material used to forge the primal chaos ancient lamp. The third factor was the flame of the primal chaos ancient lamp. Lin Feng used the purple earth core flame to ignite the flame of the primal chaos ancient lamp. Later on, as Lin Feng refined more and more heavenly fire, the number of flames that lit up the lamp also increased. Currently, the lamp flame was a fusion of five heavenly flames: purple earth core flame, black flame god incinerating flame, hellfire, and golden dragon divine flame, the black flame god eater fire. These five types of heavenly fire, after fusing together, had an extremely shocking effect. Now, after the five-colored heavenly flame flew out, it caused a huge amount of damage. Chi. The crimson energy around the crimson cobra began to burn rapidly. It didn't take long for it to burn out. The crimson cobra let out a painful shriek. "What kind of magic treasure is that?" The blood-red cobra looked at the chaos ancient lamp with its gloomy eyes. "Enough to destroy you." Lin Feng's voice was indifferent. Just as he was about to activate the heaven fire to kill the crimson cobra, suddenly, a terrifying blood mist gushed out of the scarlet cobra. Within the bloody mist, the crimson cobra transformed into a crimson-robed cultivator. The blood-red cobra was not its true body, but its soul. The crimson-robed cultivator in front of him was also not its true body, but its soul. "I thought it would be easy to deal with an ant like you. I didn't expect it to be so troublesome." The crimson-robed cultivator's expression was gloomy, and his eyes flickered with dense killing intent. He opened his hand and grabbed at the chaos ancient lamp. "You should be an expert from the Undying clan who lost his body, right? You want to devour my soul and take over my body?" Lin Feng asked with a gloomy expression. He continued to activate the five-colored heavenly flame to attack the crimson-robed cultivator. But this time, the void around the crimson-robed cultivator distorted. The crimson-robed cultivator actually blocked the five-colored heavenly flame's attack. Lin Feng couldn't help but be astonished by this turn of events. "That's right. I am the third-generation ancestor of the Undying clan in the 9 prefectures. After my body was destroyed, my soul entered a deep slumber in the soul-nurturing wood, and I have been waiting for a perfect body. I tried to take over your body several times, but it was rejected every time, and I failed in the end. This time, there shouldn't be any problems with taking over your body because your body is too perfect and has too much potential. Such a body must be very adaptable. I have waited for this day for too long, and now I can finally fulfill my wish and obtain a new life. The crimson-robed cultivator said excitedly, "Ka!" At this moment, the crimson-robed cultivator's hand grabbed the Chaos Ancient Lamp. The crimson-robed cultivator was formed from his soul, but he was able to block the five-colored heavenly flame's attack. It wasn't that the five-colored heavenly flame wasn't strong enough. It was because the five-colored heavenly flame wasn't strong enough, but because the crimson-robed cultivator was too strong. Since he was the third-generation ancestor of the Undying clan in the 9 prefectures, it meant that he was at least in existence from before the immemorial era. Back then, he might have been a peak emperor or even an immortal realm expert. Or else, his soul couldn't be so strong. This magic treasure is really good. You really are a little guy with endless potential. If it wasn't for the fact that I really need a body, I really can't bear to kill you," the crimson-robed cultivator said sinisterly. Lin Feng really wanted to punch this hypocritical guy to death. Listening to this guy's voice, he didn't sound like someone who didn't want to kill him. Lin Feng controlled the Chaos Ancient Lamp to try to break free from the crimson-robed cultivator's grasp, but he failed several times. The crimson-robed cultivator's strength was really shocking. His powerful soul force quickly rushed into the Chaos Ancient Lamp. "Go to hell!" Lin Feng's expression was cold. He used Lu Ya's star-gazing chart to deal with the crimson-robed cultivator. Lu Ya's star-gazing chart was Lin Feng's strongest soul attack technique. Once it was used, its power was boundless. Lin Feng had used Lu Ya's star-gazing chart several times to avert danger. He hoped that he could also use Lu Ya's star-gazing chart to resolve the current danger. However, Lin Feng failed. When Lu Ya's star-gazing chart swept towards the crimson-robed cultivator's soul force that was rushing into the Chaos Ancient Lamp, Lu Ya's star-gazing chart was imprisoned. "I was an immortal realm expert in the past. Even if I'm only left with my soul force, I'm definitely not someone an ant like you can fight against." The crimson-robed cultivator's sinister voice resounded in Lin Feng's mind. Lin Feng's heart instantly sank to the bottom. Immortal realm. This existence was actually at the immortal realm. An immortal. Lin Feng had yet to become an emperor. Naturally, he didn't know how strong an immortal was. However, Lin Feng knew that this immortal was really undefeatable. It made people feel despair. The crimson-robed cultivator's soul force that was rushing into the Chaos Ancient Lamp wanted to devour Lin Feng's soul. However, at this moment, Lin Feng's undying bloodline activated on its own. Lin Feng's undying bloodline awakened. The dense runes shot out beams of light. Those beams of light all rushed into the Chaos Ancient Lamp. The Chaos Ancient Lamp shone brightly. The 5-colored flame instantly enveloped the entire Chaos Ancient Lamp and burned fiercely. At this moment, the Chaos Ancient Lamp's power increased greatly after being strengthened by the bloodline power. No. The crimson-robed cultivator's soul force that had rushed into the Chaos Ancient Lamp had already developed spirituality. At this moment, he let out an incomparably shrill cry. Chapter 32:05. My soul, my soul. The crimson-robed cultivator couldn't help but scream. He was furious. His cultivation was so powerful. His soul was in the immortal realm. What a powerful soul, but part of his soul was refined to death. Because the crimson-robed cultivator was now a soul. Therefore, having part of his soul refined to death was extremely harmful to the crimson-robed cultivator. compared to the crimson-robed cultivator's anger and killing intent. Lin Feng was feeling so good right now. Originally, Lin Feng thought that he was going to die. However, his bloodline suddenly awakened and helped him refine part of the crimson-robed cultivator's soul. That part of the soul's origin was completely devoured by Lin Feng. Lin Feng's soul level rose steadily. His soul level had reached the boundary emperor realm of the 92 stone steps. It turned out that Lin Feng's soul level was at the 88 stone steps. This upgrade, it raised his soul level by 4 stone steps. One had to know that he had only refined a small part of the crimson-robed cultivator's soul origin. If he refined all of the crimson-robed cultivator's soul origin, wouldn't he break through to the emperor realm? Thinking of this, Lin Feng couldn't help but feel extremely excited. Who is it? Come out. The crimson-robed cultivator roared angrily. Endless darkness suddenly shrouded Lin Feng's mind. A living being walked out from the darkness. This living being was surrounded by a ball of holy light. He was dressed in white and looked so handsome. Father! Lin Feng looked at the man who appeared in shock. Bloodline manifestation. Lin Beitian appeared. That figure was Lin Feng's bloodline manifestation. Lin Feng had inherited Lin Beitian's bloodline. There's such a powerful existence in the Undying clan's younger generation, and such a powerful existence from an abandoned clan. This is unbelievable. If the main bloodline knew about this, I wonder what they would think. The crimson-robed cultivator's voice was cold. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared coldly at Lin Beitian's figure. Why would a cultivator want to revive their own bloodline? Awakening one's bloodline would not only grant one all sorts of unimaginable powers. The most important thing was that his bloodline was the connection between him and his ancestors. This connection was the inheritance of the race. Through the inheritance of the bloodline, the ancestors were able to protect their descendants, just like what was happening in Lin Feng's body. Perhaps it was because he had awakened his bloodline for the 3rd time, but his bloodline was getting closer and closer to his father's. As such, it was the best time to awaken Lin Beitian's power. Now Lin Feng was in danger. The shadow that Lin Beitian had branded in Lin Feng's bloodline was activated. Of course, this shadow was not a simple image. It was a shadow formed by the power of the bloodline. It possessed peerless and terrifying power. Lin Beitian didn't say anything. The crimson-robed cultivator laughed sinisterly. A bloodline imprint can more or less leave behind a will. Your eyes are lifeless. Could it be that he didn't even leave behind a trace of his will? If that's the case, then you're really too weak. As soon as the crimson-robed cultivator finished speaking, he immediately attacked Lin Beitian. This was the soul of an immortal, although he had lost part of his soul origin earlier. But now he was still extremely powerful. Lin Feng didn't know. Would the shadow of his father that appeared from his bloodline be able to block the crimson-robed cultivator's attack? Blood Demon Sky Transformation Technique. The crimson-robed cultivator attacked coldly. His attack was extremely terrifying. With a palm strike, endless blood mist was formed. The blood-colored mist seemed to cover the sky and cover the sun. The crimson-robed cultivator's attack displayed heaven-defying strength, shocking everyone. The endless blood-colored mist condensed into a blood-colored ball of energy. The space around the blood-red energy ball was twisting violently. The blood energy ball quickly flew towards Lin Beitian. It directly enveloped Lin Beitian. Then a loud explosion was heard. The blood energy ball directly exploded. Lin Beitian was drowned in it. Not good. Seeing this scene, Lin Feng's expression changed greatly. That blood-red ball of energy was simply too terrifying. His father's shadow was enveloped in it. Was he going to be completely destroyed? Ha 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 ha, lowly guy, let's see how you're going to die. The crimson-robed cultivator couldn't help but laugh proudly. That kind of laughter was extremely arrogant. Obviously, from the crimson-robed cultivator's point of view, Lin Beitian took the hit just now. He was definitely going to die. After all, it was just a shadow, not a real body. How much strength could it have? But at this moment, Lin Beitian's bloodline shadow stepped out from the explosion of blood energy. His body was completely unharmed. Father is fine? Lin Feng couldn't help but show a surprised expression. Huh, you're not dead? The crimson-robed cultivator showed an expression of disbelief. He thought that Lin Beitian was definitely going to die, but the result was different from what he imagined. This made him extremely surprised. Defeat all the heroes in the world. Suddenly Lin Beitian spoke. He stepped forward and punched the crimson-robed cultivator's shadow. Lin Feng noticed. His father's aura had changed. At that moment, he felt that his father seemed to have become an invincible ruler of the world. That punch, as if it had turned into an eternal fist. That punch, no one could resist it. Defeat all the heroes in the world. If that was the case, who would dare to say it out loud? But Lin Beitian, and now he said it out loud. That wasn't just a simple punch. That was Lin Beitian's Tao. Just like Lin Feng's Tao of Supreme. Lin Beitian naturally had his own Tao, and Lin Beitian's Tao was so powerful and terrifying. Defeat all the heroes in the world. Who could compete with him? After feeling Lin Beitian's attack, the crimson-robed cultivator's face turned pale with shock. He felt as if his body couldn't move. He couldn't help but roar. His soul origin began to burn fiercely. He was burning his soul origin to increase his combat strength. The crimson-robed cultivator's combat strength increased tremendously in a short period of time. Undying Sacred Fist. Following that, the crimson-robed cultivator used one of the Undying clan's ultimate skills and punched at Lin Beitian. Bang! Both sides collided with each other, accompanied by a violent collision sound. Lin Feng saw the crimson-robed cultivator was crazily burning his soul origin to increase his combat strength. His body exploded. Chapter 3206. The move that defeated all heroes in the world was too powerful. It directly shattered the soul of the blood-robed cultivator. This was the soul of an immortal. Even though it was not at its peak, it was still terrifying. Yet, it could not block the attack of Lin Beitian's bloodline shadow. Swish! Lin Feng's soul flew out of the primal chaos ancient lamp. A powerful cultivator like Lin Beitian. His bloodline shadow usually contained a trace of will. Thus, he could communicate with it. Father! Lin Feng looked at Lin Beitian's shadow excitedly. You've grown very quickly. Don't rush. Take it one step at a time. Lin Beitian looked at Lin Feng with reluctance and sadness in his eyes. Was he sad because he thought of his mother, or was he sad because he was separated from Lin Feng? A father's love was like a mountain. Lin Beitian and Lin Feng had depended on each other for so many years. Naturally, it was even more so. Father, I will become very strong. In the future, I will be able to share many of your burdens. Lin Feng said solemnly, Good, I believe that day will come sooner or later. Lin Beitian said. At this time, Lin Feng thought of his father being planted by a seed demon. This made Lin Feng very worried. He couldn't help but ask, Father, I heard that there was a problem with your body. Is your main body doing well? The only thing that troubled Lin Beitian was that he was planted by a seed demon. He might lose himself. Don't worry. There won't be a problem. Cultivate well, and look forward to the day when we father and son reunite. Lin Beitian said. Then his bloodline phantom gradually dissipated. He didn't know if he would have a chance to activate his bloodline shadow in the future, because activating the bloodline shadow was an extremely difficult task. This required luck, as well as some specific timing. Or else, it was impossible to activate his bloodline shadow. This time, he was able to activate his father's bloodline shadow because of Lin Feng's third bloodline awakening. It played a crucial role. Next time, if he encountered danger, he might not be so lucky. On this point, Lin Feng was very clear about this. All these years, father has put in a lot of effort in nurturing me. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. In the past, his father returned with serious injuries. However, with her father's ability, it was still possible for her to receive better training. Even when the three great clans wanted to exterminate the Lin family, his father could have easily exterminated the three great clans by himself. But father didn't do that. His father hadn't even displayed much power. Back then, he had participated in that great battle and had played a key role. It was clearly a very simple matter. So why didn't his father do it? Now, Lin Feng could understand. Only after going through trials and tribulations could a young eagle soar into the 9 heavens. True dragons could only dominate the vast dragon realm after experiencing 100 heavenly tribulations. Cultivators also had to go through the 3 calamities and 9 tribulations before they could become ancestors and saints. Flowers in a greenhouse, when exposed to the cold wind, they would wither. Therefore, from childhood to adulthood, his father, Lin Beitian, had been training him all this time. He watched as he encountered his own difficulties. She watched him solve all kinds of problems. He didn't even make a move. This contained the hope that his son would become a dragon, because Lin Beitian knew that he would leave sooner or later. At that time, Lin Feng could only rely on himself to survive in this chaotic world. Therefore, he couldn't let Lin Feng be spoiled. He wanted to sharpen Lin Feng, sharpen his son. After understanding all this, Lin Feng naturally wouldn't blame his father. On the contrary, he was very grateful to his father. It was the tenacity that he had cultivated since he was young. Every time Lin Feng faced a difficult situation, he would have to face it again and again. He never gave up. He kept fighting. That was why he had such achievements now. Lin Feng's emotions quickly recovered. He hurriedly collected the blood-robed cultivator's soul origin. A lot of the blood-robed cultivator's soul origin had been consumed when he self-ignited to increase his combat strength. This made Lin Feng feel that it was a pity. However, to be able to obtain this soul origin, Lin Feng was already extremely satisfied. After sealing the blood-robed cultivator's soul origin, Lin Feng hurriedly checked on the situation of Du Zhu and the others. What's wrong with us? At this moment, Du Zhu and the others had also recovered their movements. They were previously imprisoned by the blood-robed cultivator. Now that the blood-robed cultivator had fallen, they had recovered. It's the Undying Clan's doing. Lin Feng said with a gloomy expression. Du Zhu immediately gritted his teeth and said, "This group of bastards. I knew that they wouldn't be so kind as to let young master undergo the bloodline baptism. So they were really scheming against young master." Lin Feng said, "The devil is 1 foot tall. The Tao is 10 feet tall. These people have schemed but failed at the last step. However, I reckon that there must be many experts from the Undying Clan guarding outside. The Undying Clan has many experts. It's not suitable for us to go out now. Wait for me to go into seclusion for a few days. After I come out, we'll think of a way to leave." Yes, Du Zhu and the others responded. They continued to guard Lin Feng. On the other hand, Lin Feng began to refine the source of the blood-robed cultivator. This was the sole source of an immortal. It would greatly increase one's soul power. Previously, Lin Feng had only refined a small portion of the soul source, and his cultivation had increased by 4 levels. The amount of source he had obtained now far exceeded the amount of source he had refined previously. Hence, Lin Feng was looking forward to it. He felt that these sources would allow him to increase his soul power to the Great Emperor realm without too much of a problem. Of course, whether he could really reach the Great Emperor realm or not, he would only know after refining these sources. Right now, all of these were just Lin Feng's guesses. Lin Feng adjusted his state of mind and began to refine these sources. As Lin Feng refined the original strength, Lin Feng gradually absorbed it. Lin Feng's soul power also began to increase by leaps and bounds. Soon, it reached the peak of the Quasi-Emperor realm. Next was to break through to the Great Emperor realm. This was an extremely difficult gap to cross. If Lin Feng's soul level broke through to the Great Emperor realm in advance, then, in the future, when Lin Feng broke through to the Great Emperor realm, the resistance he encountered, it would be reduced by a lot. The soul source of the blood-robed cultivator turned into a long river and began to attack the barrier of the Great Emperor realm. After 9,999 consecutive attacks, finally, it was like the Yellow River breaking through. Lin Feng's soul power began to increase crazily. It was a whole new level. It was as if the level of life had completed an evolution. After a lot of hard work, Lin Feng's soul, he had finally completed the breakthrough from the Quasi-Emperor realm to the Great Emperor realm. However, when Lin Feng's soul level broke through to the Great Emperor realm, the blood-robed cultivator's soul source was still not exhausted. Therefore, Lin Feng's soul level was still breaking through. Chapter 3207. Heavens! Isn't that blood-robed cultivator's soul origin too terrifying? Not only did it allow my soul to break through to the Quasi-Emperor realm, but it also broke through to the 8th firmament before stopping. Lin Feng couldn't help but reveal an extremely shocked expression. If the blood-robed cultivator hadn't burned a large amount of his soul origin, his soul might have been able to break through to the immortal Emperor realm. My body has been destroyed, but my will remains at that moment. An intermittent voice suddenly echoed in Lin Feng's mind. When he heard the voice, Lin Feng couldn't help but become spirited. Where did the voice come from? He listened carefully to the voice, but the voice had disappeared. Lin Feng looked at Du Zhu and the others and asked, "Did you guys hear a strange voice?" "Strange voice? What voice?" Du Zhu and the others looked at Lin Feng in confusion. Clearly, they hadn't heard the voice. Only Lin Feng had heard it. What's going on? Why am I the only one who can hear it? Lin Feng couldn't help but feel puzzled. He was very confused. He didn't know why this had happened. Why was he the only one who could hear the voice when no one else could? Did it have something to do with his bloodline? My fleshly body has been destroyed, but my will not be extinguished. At that moment, the voice rang out again. After hearing the voice, Lin Feng was much calmer than before. He carefully savored the words. My body has been destroyed, but my will remains. Is this a body that has been destroyed? But is this a cultivator whose will remains? But why would this mysterious existence appear in the Undying Clan? Is he related to the Undying Clan in some way? Senior, can you hear me? I'm talking to you. If you can hear me, please answer me. Lin Feng released his divine sense. The mysterious voice disappeared. It didn't respond to Lin Feng. It didn't even speak. When Lin Feng was about to give up, the intermittent voice suddenly rang out in Lin Feng's mind again. Who are you? Lin Feng became spirited. My name is Lin Feng. Undying bloodline. You a member of the Undying clan? The voice asked. After hearing the voice, Lin Feng replied, although this junior has the Undying bloodline, I'm not a member of the Undying clan. My ancestor broke off relations with the Undying clan long ago, so this junior has nothing to do with the Undying clan. This time, I entered the Undying clan because I wanted to use the Undying clan to undergo a bloodline baptism. Who would have thought that I would be schemed against by the Undying clan and almost die here? Fortunately, this junior was lucky and managed to awaken my bloodline at the crucial moment. With the power of my bloodline, I killed the existence that schemed against me. Just now, I sensed that your bloodline is indeed recovering and fighting with another spirit body after. It seems that you are not lying because you seem to have another bloodline. You are not lying because you seem to have another kind of bloodline. You are really fighting with another bloodline. I know that I was suppressed too severely, so the feeling is not very clear. The disjointed voice continued. Lin Feng said, apart from the Undying bloodline, this junior also has the Sovereign Emperor's bloodline. The Sovereign clan's successor? The voice sounded surprised. That's right. This junior's mother's clan is the Sovereign Emperor's clan, Lin Feng said. So that's how it came to this. It seems that those clansmen who schemed for eternity, perhaps they didn't plan for the present matter. The voice couldn't help but laugh coldly. Then the voice said, help me break the runes of the holy pond. I will be able to break out of the holy pond. This Lin Feng couldn't help but hesitate. He didn't know what kind of existence was being suppressed. If he let it out, would there be trouble? This existence was definitely terrifying. What if he let it out? What if it attacked him? If that happened, he wouldn't even have a place to cry. I know what you are thinking, so don't worry. I won't lie to you because I still have some friendship with the ancestor of the Sovereign Imperial clan. Ancestor of the Imperial clan, and I have some friendship. The mysterious existence continued. What? You have a friendship with the Sovereign Emperor's primal ancestor? Lin Feng couldn't help but be stupefied. The Sovereign Emperor's primal ancestor was the first existence born in this epoch. He had appeared even earlier than Hong Meng. Someone who had a friendship with the Sovereign Emperor's primal ancestor? Who exactly was this being that was being suppressed? Of course, in the past, the scriptures discussed the Tao should also rise together. At this point, the mysterious existence didn't say anything else and stopped in time. What else did you do together? Lin Feng asked anxiously. He couldn't wait to know more about the Sovereign Emperor's primal ancestor. This primal ancestor, he was a legend. But just like that, he had mysteriously vanished. No one knew how he'd disappeared. Not even the Sovereign Emperor's primal ancestor knew. The Sovereign Emperor's primal ancestor's descendants suspected that he died. Over the course of countless years, the primal ancestor's primal ancestor's primal ancestor was destined to become an eternal mystery. Let me out first. Then I can tell you some things enough to tell you everything. The mysterious and ancient existence continued. Should he trust this person? Lin Feng hesitated. In the end, he gritted his teeth. He decided to go all out. Fine. I promise you, Senior, I'll think of a way to decipher these talismans and let you out. Lin Feng said, ha 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 ha. Not wrong at all. Right heart is not wrong at all. How many fights in life? Cultivators are fighting against the heavens and the earth. If we don't have the courage to fight a fight with the heavens and the earth to cultivate the hell, why not go and enjoy glory and wealth instead. Chapter 32:08. Lin Feng began to study the runes on the holy pond. Those runes were very ancient, and after staring at the runes for less than a quarter of an hour, he felt dizzy. These runes were too high level. Lin Feng found it difficult to look at them for too long. He didn't know what level of expert had set up the runes. Lin Feng sent a sound transmission to the mysterious expert, saying, "Senior, the runes here are too high level. Junior is afraid that Junior is powerless to release Senior. Close your eyes and touch these runes with your hand. Aren't you the successor of the Celestial Master Sect? You can crack these runes. You must believe in your own ability." At this moment, the mysterious existence sent a sound transmission to Lin Feng, letting Lin Feng believe in his own ability. Lin Feng was very surprised. This existence was sealed, but he still knew that he was the successor of the Celestial Master Sect. It seemed that this existence's ability was too terrifying. What kind of perception was this? It was simply unimaginable. It was shocking. Lin Feng said, "All right, Junior will give it a try." Then Lin Feng closed his eyes and touched the mysterious runes on the holy pond with his hand. When he closed his eyes, it was dark in front of him. The world seemed to have turned into a dark world. However, at this moment, his heart seemed to be able to calm down more easily, said Lin Feng, while touching those mysterious talismans. Each talisman contained a mysterious and enigmatic strength. He couldn't look at those runes for a long time, but he could touch those runes with his hand for a long time. Lin Feng memorized each and every one of those talismans. Lin Feng constantly used his heart to feel the extraordinariness of those runes. He didn't know how much time had passed. Finally, Lin Feng sensed some flaws in those runes. Every kind of talisman, restriction, or formation had a flaw. The so-called deciphering runes, restrictions, and formations. How to crack it? It was to find the flaws in these runes, restrictions, and formations. Then, pull one hair, and the whole body will be affected. After finding these flaws, it was easy to crack these runes, restrictions, or formations. Lin Feng's research on the inheritance of the Celestial Master Sect had become deeper and deeper over the years, although he had yet to find the stone scripture. But Lin Feng had cultivated the stone emperor scripture. As a result, his attainments in array formations were extremely profound. Now that he had found the flaws in these runes, Lin Feng began to crack them. Outside, many experts from the Undying clan were anxiously waiting. Yuan said, "I wonder how the situation inside." Lin Feng shouldn't have needed so much time to deal with him. "Could something have happened?" said Yuan Qing, frowning. "I'm a bit worried too. Even though Lin Feng is young, we can't underestimate him. He has many strange and mysterious skills." Yuan Dongshan said, "If the ancestor chooses to go into seclusion after successfully possessing the body, if we go in now, I'm afraid we will disturb the ancestor's cultivation." Yuan Dongshan's deduction was not without reason. Thus, these people were also hesitant. They didn't know if they should enter. Yuan Qing and the others looked at Great Elder Yuan Tuo and said in unison, "Great Elder, what do you think?" Yuan Tuo said, "Let's wait for another day. If the ancestor still hasn't come out of seclusion after a day, then we'll open the restrictions and enter the sacred spirit cave to check out the situation inside." Hearing Yuan Tuo's words, everyone nodded. Time passed very quickly. A day passed. In the blink of an eye, Yuan Shan said, "Great Elder, one day's time is up. Now, let's open the restrictions of the sacred spirit cave and enter to take a look." The sacred spirit cave that Yuan Shan mentioned was the place where Lin Feng underwent the bloodline baptism. "All right, open the restrictions." Yuan Tuo nodded. Then, a group of people opened the restrictions. Then, he wanted to enter. He carefully investigated the situation inside the Sacred Spirit Cave. However, the restrictions had just been opened, and these people had yet to enter. Endless demonic mist surged. Suddenly, a burst of laughter came from within the demonic fog. Ha 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 ha, I'm finally free. Old bastards of the Undying Clan, have you ever thought that I would be able to see the light of day again? Not good. Something has happened in the depths. Hearing that voice, the expressions of Yuan Tuo and the others changed. Something must have happened in the Sacred Spirit Cave. They couldn't sense the aura of the ancestor. Could it be that the ancestor had encountered a calamity? When they thought of that, the mood of the group of people could not help but suddenly sink. Whoosh! At this moment, something seemed to be flying out of the devil light at high speed. Retreat! 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 Quickly retreat! Yuan Tuo shouted. The members of the Undying Clan quickly retreated. Soon, a demonic hand flew out. The demonic hand was surrounded by endless demonic light and dripping with blood, as if it had just been killed. The person who had made that sound, it was the demonic hand. The same demonic hand was sealed in the depths of the Sacred Spirit Cave. Lin Feng broke the seal of the Sacred Spirit Cave, and the demonic hand broke free. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After the demonic hand charged out, one figure after another charged out of the Sacred Spirit Cave. The person in the lead, it was Lin Feng. Lin Feng, you're not dead? Yuan Tuo looked at Lin Feng in disbelief. He could sense Lin Feng's aura. This was indeed Lin Feng. It wasn't their ancestor. Lin Feng sneered. Of course I'm not dead. Not only am I not dead, but I'm also alive and well. That's impossible. The third ancestor had the soul of an immortal. How could the possession have failed? Could it be because of this demonic hand? Yuan Tuo's expression was extremely gloomy. The demonic hand sneered. This has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with you. Yuan Tuo and the others were in disbelief. It had nothing to do with the demonic hand. Then how had the third ancestor's soul died? Had he been killed by Lin Feng? They didn't believe that Lin Feng had such an extraordinary ability to kill the third ancestor's soul. How could that be possible? Even if Lin Feng had cultivated to the great emperor realm, it was impossible for him to have such an ability. Let alone now. This is called those who commit too much evil are doomed to destruction. That old bastard wanted to possess my body, but in the end, his body and soul were destroyed. He brought this upon himself. Lin Feng said indifferently, Courting death. Courting death. Kill them all. Yuan Tuo's voice was cold and filled with killing intent. Boom! The Undying Clan's members were as high as the clouds. There were 15 Emperor-level experts. Chapter 3209. Other than the Great Emperor Realm experts, there were about 4,000 to 5,000 Great Emperor Realm experts in the Undying Clan. Now, these experts were all guarding this place. All of them attacked, their killing intent dense. Senior, the time for revenge has come. Kill to your heart's content. Lin Feng said, Kill, kill, kill. I want to kill all of your Undying Clan. The devil hand immediately roared. Lin Feng didn't know what grudges the devil hand had with the Undying Clan, but the devil hand hated the Undying Clan to the core. Moreover, the devil hand had been cursing the old Undying of the Undying Clan. It was just that Lin Feng didn't know which old Undying of the Undying Clan the devil hand was talking about. After all, the Undying Clan was such a powerful force. After such a long time, who knew how many top experts had appeared? The devil hand quickly flew towards a Great Emperor Realm expert. Then he slapped towards the Great Emperor Realm expert with his palm. The power of that terrifying palm was truly terrifying to the extreme. It was as if it could destroy the heavens and earth. The great Emperor realm expert's expression couldn't help but change. He never thought that the Devil Hand's attack would be so tyrannical. After all, the Devil Hand was only a palm. How much of a threat could it be? However, only after truly exchanging blows did they realize how terrifying the Devil Hand was. It was truly shocking, causing them to turn pale with fright. The great Emperor of the Undying clan quickly used the sacred art of the Immortal Fist. Previously, the blood-robed cultivator had used this sacred art when dealing with Lin Baiqian's bloodline shadow. This sacred art was one of the top sacred arts of the Undying clan. Its power was extremely shocking. Bam! The Devil Hand collided with the great Emperor, accompanied by the sound of a violent collision. Everyone saw it. The great Emperor realm expert's body was actually blasted apart by the Devil Hand's palm. Blood splattered everywhere. Powerful source energy. It was instantly devoured by the Devil Hand. That was a great Emperor. Just like that. It was easy. Killed by the Devil Hand. It was truly unbelievable. It was truly unbelievable. However, this matter was real because it happened right in front of their eyes. Many people saw it. Heavens, how is this possible? This thought appeared in almost everyone's mind. It was just a palm. He had killed a great emperor in one move. This was too terrifying. As expected of an existence from the era of the sovereign emperor clan's primogenitor, even if he only has one hand left. It's actually terrifying to such a level. Truly shocking. Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. In his heart, it was as if a monstrous wave had surged out. I wonder what level of cultivation this existence was at when he was at his peak. Let's destroy this demonic hand together. You guys go and destroy Lin Feng and the others. Yuan Ta's expression turned gloomy when he saw how powerful Emosho was. He pointed at the four great emperors. The four great emperors were all at the emperor god level. Yuan Tua ordered the four of them to lead the Undying family's experts to kill Lin Feng and the others. Meanwhile, Yuan Tua and the other 8 great emperors charged towards Devil Hand. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, all sorts of terrifying attacks were launched towards the Devil Hand. The 8 great emperors attacked, wanting to join forces and quickly kill Devil Hand. However, when the attacks of the 8 great emperors reached the Devil Hand, suddenly the space around the Devil Hand began to distort, and the attacks of the 8 great emperors were all trapped in the distorted space. They were unable to cause any damage to the Devil Hand. On the other side, the 4 great emperors of the Undying family led thousands of quasi-emperor level experts to besiege Lin Feng and the others. The strongest of the 4 great emperors was Yuan Dongchen, whom Lin Feng had met before. He was at the 10th level of the Emperor God realm. Among the 4 great emperors, his cultivation was the highest. The cultivators of the Undying family, who had yet to step into the quasi-emperor realm. They did not participate in the battle. Instead, they watched from afar. Lin Feng, prepare to die. Yuan Dongchen's voice was cold. With a dragon devil blood blade in his hand, he directly slashed towards Lin Feng. Seeing Yuan Dongchen make his move, the other 3 great emperors also made their move. Kill! The cultivators of the Undying family roared even louder, their morale soaring like a rainbow. All of them were filled with killing intent. With so many cultivators attacking at the same time, one could imagine how terrifying their attacks were. As the saying goes, ants can bite an elephant to death. With 4 great emperors and 4 to 5,000 quasi-emperor realm experts, even an immortal emperor realm cultivator would probably be killed. Lin Feng's side was at an absolute disadvantage in terms of numbers, while their side only had 400 to 500 quasi-emperor realm cultivators. There was no way they could be compared to the cultivators of the Undying family. But so what? the Black Armored Knights were not the same as the cultivators of the Undying family. Kill. Lin Feng held onto the stone sword and could not help but shout out loud. Kill. The cultivators of the Black Armored Knights all shouted out loud, their voices almost fused together. They attacked together, their strength connecting together. Every single one of them unleashed an attack. It was equivalent to an attack unleashed by the combined magic power of 1,000 people. Their cooperation was incomparably tacit. Rays of cold light swept out. Although their numbers and cultivation were not comparable to the cultivators of the Undying family, the combined power of the Black Armored Knights was much stronger than the cultivators of the Undying family, who were fighting alone. The attack of the Black Armored Knights instantly destroyed the attack of the Undying family cultivators, including the attacks of the 4 great emperors. The attacks of the Black Armored Knights were endless after the second wave of attacks. The 4 great emperors of the Undying family were forced to retreat. Puchi, 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 tearing sounds and miserable screams rang out incessantly. Many of the quasi-emperor realm cultivators of the Undying family were either killed or injured. The Black Armored Knights displayed shocking battle strength. This was the first time the Black Armored Knights participated in a real battle. Hence, after seeing the battle strength of the Black Armored Knights, Lin Feng could not help but be shocked. The mysterious Black Armored Knights created by the faction behind the Grand Tao Honorable Lord were truly terrifying. The Black Armored Knights were so powerful mainly because of the mysterious Black Armored Knights. Follow me. Lin Feng held the stone sword and took the lead, charging towards the 4 great emperors. Kill these 4. Lin Feng could not help but shout. The cultivators of the Black Armored Knights shouted in unison, launching wave after wave of attacks towards the 4 great emperors. In addition, Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the evil Honorable Saint worked together. The 4 great emperors were forced to retreat. The quasi-emperor realm cultivators of the Undying family who came to help were all killed. They could not help the 4 great emperors at all. The 4 great emperors were in a precarious situation. Puchi, tearing sounds could be heard. The first great emperor was drowned by the attacks of the Black Armored Knights. His body was torn to pieces. He died on the spot.